We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Until nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
Welcome to beautiful downtown Albuquerque. It's that time of the year. Bracket Breakdown. It's presented by Southwest Style. What a season it has been, but finally we're just moments away from seeing who will be playing for the Blue Trophies. I'm Sebastian Noel, joined by our usual cast, Michael Montano, Nick Nunez, Ed Nunez on the end there. I don't know about you guys, man, but that season went by quick.
It truly did.
Yeah, I mean, it starts in late November, and here we are in early March, man, in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, Steve Davis said that's a couple, it's probably in November, December. He said it's going to be quick, and then before you know it, it's state tournament time. Here we are.
What's the one thing, I'm going to go down the line here before we start getting into some brackets. We'll get over it. We'll get the seating criteria up there in a minute. But, Ed, we'll start with you. If you have a moment this season that's kind of stuck out for you, what's been your big headline this season? What's been that defining moment?
Probably, I got to look at Volcano Vista last night and the dominance. They're dominant. You've watched them play a lot. They're going for an unprecedented 4-peat. And, that's and it's funny to watch Coach Brown, who's trying to keep them, hungry. We're still got to do this, trying to find reasons to get mad. That's a dominant team. Big Smooth, as you call them, a Lund. When I saw them last night, that team's going to be very, very tough to beat. So I think that's been something that I've watched, and covered basketball as an official and, coach and now broadcaster. That team is as dominant maybe as we've seen in a long time. So I think just seeing them, they've won, 17 in a row now. Their 2 losses were outside the state in a tournament outside New Mexico. So I think for me, watching their quest for a 4-peat, and it's not over with, and things can happen, but I think that's been a headline for me.
Margin of victory during district play over close to 40 points. That's unheard of, right?
You know what, and that's why I've known Coach Brown, and Papa Brown was my coach at Holy Ghost. His mom was my teacher. I've been around the Browns a long time, and my son coached, and I coached, and you're trying to keep your team hungry. Greg's a little clippy with his answers because he doesn't want to keep hearing his team is great. I know what the message is at practice. We're not that good. We got to do this, and that, and I understand why he's doing that. Your nickname for Big Smooth is, hey, man, he is. He's everything you said he was. He can shoot. He can post up. He can block shots. He makes his free throws. And the kid works out with David Quixote, the former Lobo. He's taught him quite a bit. And he's just a very humble, great young man. So, again, things happen. You saw Sandia. They had a chance at him. Rio Rancho had a chance at him. It's going to be very difficult to beat. I thought Oregon Mountain last year had a chance with Kyrus, Janai Wilson, Lenny Washington. They destroyed them. It was close for a while. My son said that. But that's how good they are. So I think just seeing them and their quest for a 4-peat has been something that's kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit.
Oh, by the way, Big Smooth recorded his second triple-double of the year in that district championship game. So he's also quite the passer. He's had some fun this year when he's been able to be the facilitator. Yeah, that's definitely a great choice there. Nick, what's been your one highlight of the season, or your headline, if you had to pick one?
I think a trending headline right now, Sebastian, is Atrisco Heritage in 5A boys. They've won 7 games in a row down the stretch, won the District 5 5A tournament championship last night against Albuquerque High. They're healthy. Latavius Morris eclipsed the 2,000-point mark last night. That's just a dangerous team in Class 5A. So that's been kind of the trending headline that I've been looking at.
Yeah, he became the second member to join the 2,000-point club this year, Big Smooth and Latavius. Talk about a contrast, right? I mean, 5'7", maybe, Latavius, right? Put up those kind of points. That's a great pick. That's a dangerous team. Whoever draws Atrisco in the first round, they're going to be feeling like they got a lump of coal for Christmas, because that's a top 5 team when healthy, and they're healthy now. And, oh, by the way, a great head coach, too, that X's and O's wise, Steve Heredia, he's going to scheme them up, right? That's a great pick. Michael, what about you?
I mean, I got to go down to Class 3A, both Robertson and St. Michael's. Robertson goes on a fantastic winning streak, goes through a 2-game stretch. Now they're back on the winning streak, and I also include St. Michael's because they got this new head coach, and people doubted them. And now that coach is proving them wrong.
Yeah, no, that's a great. I mean, are they on a collision course?
They are truly on a collision course.
They played again. I mean, that district tournament last night, right? So I'm sure it was a packed house there. We'll get into that more with that bracket. I think for mine, I'm going to go down south as well, but I'm going to switch to the girls' side and talk about Coach Carpenter and the Hobbs Eagles. 23rd consecutive district championship for Coach Carpenter. That's unbelievable. And then the way they played in that Metro Championship against Kirtland Central, there could have been any other team on the floor that night. They were not going to be beat that night. He's had some special teams roll through there, but this group, I mean, you talk about the recipe for a championship. A point guard that makes everyone around her better, and she's also the toughest kid on the floor, Bryn Hargrove, he's got that. A post player that affects both sides of the court, he's got that with Kendall, right? Some phenomenal role players that can hit some shots, whether it's Mojica, whether it's Armitage, and then a quiet leader that just lets her play do all the talking, and Brett Clay. I mean, those ingredients, you put those all in a pot, that's a championship team, isn't it?
Yeah, and the other thing about that, Sebastian, all those girls have been playing together since like they were in kindergarten, since they were 5 years old. And so just the culture that they already had, and then Coach Carpenter comes into Hobbs and just the job he's done. I think he eclipsed 600 wins this year. Special team.
He's a modern-day Don Flanagan, isn't he? He's our Don Flanagan.
You know what? I would definitely say so. You know, Coach Flanagan at El Dorado was very successful. Of course, coaching at UNM, and Coach Carpenter also coached at Roswell when he was named a district coach of the year, as he's been. He shared it with his staff. Top-notch guy. That's one of my favorite guys. One of my favorite coaches in the state. And it's hard not to wish him success because he's such a humble guy. He's had great success, but always wishes everyone well, and will get after it. Hates to lose like any other coach does, but anytime I talk to him on the phone, it's always a treat, man. In fact, I almost called him before I came here, and we'll probably call him afterward just to say hello. He's a great guy, great coach.
And every time he thinks about, hey, this might be it, he gets a crop of 8th grade girls that are amazing, and he's like, I'll stick around for another half century, right? And that might be the case again because he's got Ronald Ross's daughter just around the corner. So there's no end in sight to that dynasty down there. Those are some great headlines. All right, our director, Jason Pole's flying solo in the director's chair tonight. So if you're having a watch party, please do tweet us at ProView TV. We might not be able to get the pictures up because he is flying solo, but we'll see it on set here. And if we get your watch parties at ProView TV, that'll be our cue to talk about that team. So feel free, if you're watching, send us a tweet right there. You see some of our feed there. But if you send us your watch party at ProView TV, we catch it, and we'll spotlight your team as soon as we catch it. Let's throw up the criteria for the brackets, Jason, if you can. I know these have been they haven't changed much over the years, but it's important to go through them because it seems like every year there's some controversy about some team being misseeded. But it's finished in regular season district play, head-to-head matchup, wins against district champs regardless of classification, overall record, Max Prep's rankings, and then there's that final coaches poll of the year. That's the blind metric. We never see that one at the end of the year. It's submitted to the NMAA, and that's the last one. If there's a tie, the first tiebreaker is head-to-head, but as often is the case, there's not a head-to-head game between the teams. Then the tiebreaker is the Max Prep strength of schedule. So those are the criteria. Pretty cut and dry, but every year there seems to be that one or two teams. How did we get left out? And then if you go through these criteria points, you can kind of see how it happens. Again, at ProView TV, that's our Twitter or our X. If you're having a watch party, then send me those pictures and we'll talk about them. I see a picture already of the Cleveland Storm, head coach Zach Cole's team, waiting to see where they are going to be in the tournament. They might be in that dangerous spot of drawing Atrisco, which I think would be unfortunate. But since they're the first to send me in a picture, let's talk about the Cleveland Storm and head coach Zach Cole's team.
Had them last night and had them against Cibola earlier this year. And they've had a couple of losses as far as players go. And I talked to Coach Cole before the game last night. I said, what's your thoughts about the game? Hey, we want to keep them off the boards. We want to be competitive. They cut it to 14 at one point. And then Coach Greg Brown called a timeout, and then Volcano Vista opened the floodgates and started playing downhill. It's not a good matchup for Cleveland against Volcano Vista.
For anybody.
Remy Albrecht, love that kid. That kid, about 20 points a game, plays downhill, can hit the three, and I mean deep threes, will drive to the basket, get to the rim, draw fouls. He drew about 6 fouls last night. Bryson Bowie, he's only a sophomore. Keep an eye on him. I really like him a lot too. Slasher can hit the three. I think they've got some AJ Vigil. AJ Vigil can ring it up. So I think Atrisco Heritage is playing very well. I'm not sure how they fared against each other. I did have that written down somewhere. But the way Steve Heridia's team is playing, as you mentioned, that's not a team right now that anybody wants to face. But Zach Cole has faced him. And sometimes, you have to play who's on the bracket.
Right. And that's not a for sure matchup yet. We're speculating.
Right.
Michael, you've seen them a lot. In particular, that game Ed was referencing at Cibola, I thought that was one of Cleveland's better games of the year. And I thought what really impressed me that night was Solomon Kegler. He's not on the team anymore. That was a different dimension that's not there anymore. You've seen them probably more than most of us. Can you make the case for the Cleveland Storm?
I mean, I can, because you do have Remy, you do have AJ, you have Bowie, as Ed said, and then you have some bench players that come in, Evan V. Hill. You have another starter that filled in for Kegler, Noah Valor. You got your big man sub, Moses Sparks. I mean, it's a well-around team, but this team can't truly rely on Remy and AJ to do everything.
Tell you what, though, give Remy a lot of credit. I think this year what has separated Remy from years past, he's really made the team around him better. He's really embraced kind of being the leader. It's his team, but, it's easy to go out there and just jack up shots, but he's made guys around him better. That's when they've been good. But you know what they say about role players, right? Like, they're inconsistent. They're role players for a reason. I think when Cleveland's role players are really good, the Cleveland Storm are really good, right?
Truly.
But when they're not, then they could be in trouble on some nights, right?
Yeah, when Remy was off against Farmington, the whole team just fell apart. They came back, they adjusted, and now they're going to be playing, hopefully not Atrisco.
Yeah, I mean that's I think that's the landmine waiting for everyone in the first round. Honestly, I see a picture here from assistant coach Joe Wright. That means the Lady Matadors of Sandia are watching. I'm sure they're real happy about my big long monologue about the Hobbs Eagles, right? So let's make the case for what will probably be the number 2 seed, the Sandia Matadors.
Well, they played at the beginning of the season. That was the very first game played in the metro area in November. Sandia won it, I think, by 3 or by 5. I had them earlier in the season, a 2-point win over Volcano Vista. They struggled a little bit in that game. Sydney Benally put the team on her back, but they're just so balanced, Sebastian. They've got Audrey Wright, Kaya Benally, Sydney's sister, is another strong player for them. They really just get it done kind of at all ends of the floor, as we see their picture up there. And so I think with this class, it's Sandia and Hobbs. Those are the 2 favorites. There's some other teams that can make some noise, but this team is so deep and so balanced, it's kind of hard to pick against them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weapons, and they look good against La Cueva. I mean, they dominated La Cueva last night. They had a shutout on the board for most of the first. We know what Benally can do. Obviously, that's kind of the matchup we're all expecting at the end, right? That's another one of those collision courses. We never got the rematch in the Metro Championship because Sandia got tripped up on the way to the championship. Are we going to get a Hobbs-Sandia round 2?
I could see it happening, most definitely. I mean, they're the 2 top teams for a reason. They're both loaded with talent. I don't see anybody stopping them to the championship.
Yeah, let's stay with Sandia because the boys sent in a picture as well. So the Matadors, I don't know if they're in the same place, but I saw the picture from Isaiah Brown on our, there you go. No, they're definitely in a different place. But they're is that Danny kissing my head in the background? I think it is. You're zooming in. No, look at that. Look at that. Danny's all puckered up. Anyway, let's talk about Sandia a little bit then. First, I did bring the stat line last night. I wanted to share this with you guys. This is Zaire Diabaje's final stat line last night. 16 points, 19 rebounds, 5 steals, 4 blocks, 3 assists in that tournament championship. They're so fun to watch. I've seen them twice this year where they, I think, had 28 assists on 32 makes. I mean, you're an X's and O's guy, according to Coach Patino, right? So, I mean, talk about that.
Oh, they moved the ball really well. I had them twice in the APS Metro Tournament in their opening round games. They shoot a ton of threes. I think through 25 games, they shot like 883 threes. But those are good shots within the offense. They share the basketball. And it's not just one guy, man. You got to guard 4 guys out on the perimeter. Thomas Adams, the District Player of the Year. Isaiah Brown, Gad Harris, Zaire Diabaje. All those guys are threats from 3. So is Hogs. And so they're just such a difficult team to guard. They put so much pressure on you defensively. You talked about it on the broadcast with Coach Garcia last night, Sebastian, where they do struggle at times, I think, is rebounding. They're not particularly long on the perimeter. Gad Harris and Isaiah Brown a little undersized at the guard position, but they make up for it in different ways. They play so fast. They speed you up so much on the defensive side of the floor. It's going to be tough for anybody to beat them.
Yeah, Ed, what do you think? I think the one team if I'm a Sandia fan, that I would like to see on the opposite side of their bracket, other than Volcano, obviously. If I'm a Sandia guy, I'd like to see La Cueva on that other side. I think La Cueva has proven that they're a good matchup for Sandia. They can hang with the Matadors. They have that one win. But what's your thoughts on Danny's team this year?
I think I've got to see him a couple of times. As my son said, Gad Adams, that guard there gets its gaps. Passes. I saw him make a great pass. Got into the gap, made a great wraparound pass for an easy score. Sees the floor very well. Keeps his head up all the time, looking for open teammates. And Nick said that Diabje, I really like him a lot. And Nick had a game where he came down and scored in transition, got fouled on a tomahawk dunk. So they play very fast. They've only lost 3 times, twice to Volcano Vista and one to La Cueva in overtime. I still think they're the better team than La Cueva. La Cueva started out, 0-4, 0-3. They started out slow and then came around. Drew Bramlett has played very well at the point guard there for them. They've got some pieces inside as well. And Eric Orwell did a really good job of coaching this team up. But I think with Sandia, as we mentioned, the personnel matchup, the players that Coach Brown has, Isaiah Brown will shoot from 30, 35 feet. That kid's got some range. He can spread it out, opens up the floor. You got slashers there. So that Danny's got a lot of weapons at his disposal. That's a good team.
Guy that doesn't get talked a lot about is Mason Howell inside. He's the key to that team as well. When he's there and he's protecting the rim, he's on the floor, he's a defensive presence. And Coach Brown was able to get a couple of guys comfortable off his bench this year. You mentioned Hogs. Minifield was huge last night. Jacob Dawes has played in almost every game. So I think he's got a few guys he's pretty comfortable with going to on the bench. And I think Dion Cumber can play those minutes if he needs to as well. He hasn't, because they've been so good. And those other guys have been really good. But I think there's going to be a time where Cumber's in the game. And I think he can contribute. I've seen spurts from him as well. It's a good team. Again, 1-2 maybe. We'll see them. All right, who do we got here? Who's that? All right, that's the Lovington Wildcats, Class 4A girls team. Let's see. Let me look to 4A real quick here. They're 8 in the coaches poll, 15-11 season. That's. I guess the question in 4A becomes, can anyone stop Kirtland Central and Gallup, right? And Lovington hoping to be one of those teams. They've had a nice season. But those two at the top, that's a pretty top-heavy classification, is it not?
It's truly a top-heavy classification with those two district rivals right there. I mean, yes, Kirtland Central took the first 2 by good margin of victories, and then Gallup goes into their home and upsets them in overtime. So I don't see anyone stopping those two in the championship.
All right, we got another picture here from the Atrisco Heritage boys. Coach Heredia sent that in. We talked about Atrisco a little bit already, but I guess let's just rewind to that. I was telling you guys when I walked in here today, I think a healthy Atrisco is a top 5 team. That's the landmine waiting in that bracket. Whoever gets them in the first round, I think is. I'm just going to go out and say it. I think they're going down. Whoever gets them in the first round, I like that team. Again, Latavius joined that 2,000-point club. I think the key to that team, out of all their guys getting healthy, was Casada. Like, he's so versatile with everything he does for them on both sides of the. Coach Heredia was telling me there's out of bounds plays he had to take out when he wasn't there. Coach Heredia was saying there's defenses they couldn't run when he wasn't there. He can throw one down over you. Like, Casada's big, right? And now Sims is still getting healthy. Yeah. So let's talk again about Atrisco, man. Like, where do you put an Atrisco team that's healthy, Nick?
Staying with you on Casada, I think he does all the dirty work, man. He gets the rebounds. When we had him against West Mesa a couple weeks ago, he had 4 blocks in 1 half. He's one of those glue guys that they need, that they depend on. He doesn't always score a ton in double figures, but just is tremendous for what that team needs. I think this Atrisco team is super dangerous. To all your points, Sebastian, they got Kadarius Sims back a couple weeks ago. He makes them even more dynamic. One guy I really like that's grown a ton as a sophomore, Latavius' brother, Rashad Morris. He's turned into a second-level scorer, another guy that can get consistent buckets for them that you can depend on for double figures. This is a really dangerous team.
No, they are, and I think you make a good point about Rashad Morris. I thought earlier in the season he was kind of forcing the action, but he's learned through his brother, by the way.
Great point, Ed.
Right, when he makes a mistake, Latavius will go over there and he'll tell him, no, don't do that or don't shoot that. That's his brother. He's going to listen to him. He may not have the tools that Latavius has, and who does? Let's be honest. But he's turned into a solid guard. You mentioned Aaron Lujan's back. When I talked to Coach Heredia about 2 weeks ago, he said, "Hey, my guys are coming back. I feel good about where we're at." And 6 in a row, you can see that's we saw them against Albuquerque High yesterday. Once Latavius Morris starts playing downhill, shoots the gap, can't defend him. You go guard him. He goes right by you so fast. If you don't get up on him, he'll shoot from 30 feet and hit the three. He's also a willing passer. Had a triple-double, son. I think that night that we had him. Yep. So the guy's but he makes other teammates better. He's a willing passer when people are open. He knows his teammates, and as Nick mentioned, Rashad Morris has turned into a solid guard. And again, that's a lot due to Latavius' leadership there.
Big thing with him, Michael, I noticed he takes better shots than he did at the beginning of the season. And when he makes a mistake, he doesn't look over at Coach Heredia anymore. Next play up. Like Ed said, he's really grown. I think part of that's been his brother's guidance, right? But he's playing with some renewed confidence, some confidence that maybe wasn't there. Yeah, Hot Springs. This is a very unique team. This is the only team in the entire tournament where every player is taller than head coach Derek Bean. So the Tigers, they got it rolling again this year. You guys saw them in the Hope tournament. Ed, what'd you think of this team?
You know what? I like Coach Bean a lot. Him and I are pretty good friends. We interviewed him for a while, and I thought they played pretty well. I asked him before the game, "What do you got?" And he said, "Hey, we're going to scrap. We're going to fight." I think they had I can't remember who they were playing. Was it Hope? They had them down. They had them down through 3 quarters, and then Hope made a run in the fourth, and they lost that game. And Coach Bean, won the championship a couple of years ago. One of my favorite coaches in the entire state. Really like him a lot. So I thought the Tigers showed the fight that Coach Bean and they have all season long. So looking forward to seeing them at the state tournament.
Cibola Cougars are at their home gym there, it looks like. What a nice season for Gabe Martinez and the Cougars. Making some noise this year. This is a team that you talk about trending in the right direction, full of young studs on that team, man. We know who their leader is, obviously, in Elijah, but they got Coach Martinez has some weapons. 4 bigs that he can rotate in pretty nicely. Barons is just a sophomore. That's the big I like to see out there because you're going to have him for 2 more years, right? I love the lefty, Critchlow. I don't think anyone can stay in front of him on the dribble. He's so quick. I mean, there's a lot of weapons on this team, Nick.
Yeah, Christopher Williams, another guy that we
Right.
didn't even talk about. Yeah, no, I saw them against Albuquerque High a couple weeks ago. 3-point loss for the Cougars, but just what Coach Gabe Martinez has done at Cibola, I don't know if Cibola has made a state tournament, Sebastian. Maybe you have to go back to the Ray Rodriguez days deep. They won 6 games last year. They tripled their win total in a very competitive district with Volcano Vista. Them and Farmington were the only teams to hold Volcano Vista to under 70 points in district play. So they're a good defensive team. Elijah Martinez, as good a scorer as anybody in Class 5A. I think they can be dangerous too.
Well, you've seen a lot of the Cougs. What do you think, Michael?
I wouldn't sleep on Cibola at all. You got Martinez, you got your 4 bigs that can rotate, and I mean, how do you stop the bigs when there's so many? Who do you put on them?
Right. That's a team we're pretty familiar with as well. That looks like the Rio Rancho Rams. Coach Salata has them right on the, they're looking to get in, right? They're kind of at the edge there, 15, 16, 17, right? Where we think they're probably in. But you talk about a team that can be a matchup nightmare just because of their size and physicality.
Yeah.
Ed?
I talked to Coach Salata last night, and I said, "What do you think you're going to end up at?" And he said he thought about a 14. And, you mentioned Noah Lovato and Decker, Lucero, the outside shooter. Coach Salata's been running and pressing a lot, trying to use that Hobbs system. And it worked for them. They played Volcano tough, only losing by 5. And then, they had some losses in district that were very close. So I think Coach Salata, and I said, "Who do you think?" That's what he thought at 14. But I really like Noah Lovato. I really do. Decker came off a knee injury. He's a sophomore. He's a junior. He'll be back. They have another guy, big guy, Peterson. I can't remember his name, but they have another big guy too. So they could be a dangerous out.
Bynum's come on late in the season as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Young guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm just glad there's a Bynum in the program, so those baked goods at the tournament just keep. Mrs. Bynum makes the best desserts, and I was heartbroken
She
when
sure does.
I was heartbroken when I thought the Bynums were finally all done and graduated, and then I print a roster in the season. I said, "Yes, there's another Bynum, and he's an underclassman."
They did play Volcano tough in the APS Metro tournament, Sebastian.
Right.
I mean, that was a game that Volcano shot 1 for 19 from 3. I talked to Coach Salata a little bit about that before they played Volcano the second time. I think they can be dangerous, and I think given the right matchup in the first round, they could make an upset.
Ed, did you see those guys? That was your Highland Hornets up there.
Yeah, it is.
That's a team I'm high on. Oh man, on the bracket I saw online, they were facing Del Norte in the first round. I hope that doesn't happen because I have never picked against Del Norte in the first round. So, but this is a Highland team that I really like. One, because obviously Lincoln's back, right? 2, Spurrell's back into the action. 3, all those injuries forced them to find a little hidden gem in the middle in Moody. I know he's raw. I know he's young. But he can do some things, and size never slumps, especially at the pit, right? So even if your guards aren't shooting well, you can get them on the old boards. It would be sacrilege to let anyone but Ed lead off with Highland. You have the floor, Ed.
No, I appreciate
your
it.
Hornets.
Yeah, they are. And, when my son and I are calling Pius Highland, has to be down the line. We get a big kick out of that. But they're the defending champs. And, they won, 3 in a row. And they came up against Pius, and my son and I had done the game the week before, and then we had the game on Friday. And you know what? Give Pius credit. We said that. They played well defensively. Jesus Licon made an amazing shot to force overtime. And, Pius was able to withhold the Hornets' surge and beat them in overtime. But I think going into the state, you mentioned the injuries. They had one of their better shooters, leave the team. That hurt. Another Sebastian Hernandez tore his shoulder. That hurt. But, I got to say this about Coach Woody. He's not going to make any excuses. He said that to me after the game on Friday. He said, you know what? That's our best performance against them. Give them credit. Coach JoJo Woody said that. That's a good team. You got to give Pius credit. They beat Highland 3 times. Like Highland had won 5 of 6 from Pius last year. So, I still think Highland is, until they're out, they're going to be a tough out at the pit. They're the defending champions. That team plays very hard for Coach Woody. They really do. That's a culture that he's built there. Remember, people may forget, he didn't have a gym when he first started, man. He had to, they started out 3 wins, and then he built it and built it and built it. Highland won their first title in 2022, hadn't won one since 1972. Won one last year. Lost in overtime to Valley during the COVID year. Coach Woody has had them there. The Hornets know what it's like to play in the pit. So, yeah, I'm very proud of my Highland Hornets, and I say that unabashedly and try not to show favoritism, but that's my team. That is my team.
Experience matters at the pit, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I got to say this, too, that Owen Chang, and I always tease Owen, he hit that shot left-handed backward. That's one of the most difficult shots that I've ever seen against Valley. I had to rewind that like 10 times. Like, how did he make that? But it was destined to be. That was a great final between, my son and Coach Coleman did a great job calling that game. But that was destined to be. Valley was up by 8 with 2 minutes left, and Highland found a way. So until you got them dead and gone, I think they'll be a tough out. I really do.
To your point, Sebastian, experience does matter. I was speaking with St. Pius head coach Ryan Myers, and teams like Highland, when you've got the tradition winning 2 state championships out of the last 4 years, they have a championship moxie where you have to beat them. They just know how to make plays down the stretch, get a loose ball, like last night or 2 nights ago in the district tournament championship against St. Pius. Juan Lemus gets a loose ball, puts up a reverse, ties it, we get overtime. It's plays like that teams like Highland make because they have that championship winning culture. Whether they get an 8 seed, a 9 seed, a 6 seed, we're about to find out here hopefully in the next 15 minutes or so, but dangerous team.
The La Cueva girls are on the at their gym. This is the Dons of West Las Vegas. That's a very good team as well. Who do we got there? That's the Lady Dons. Let's see, who else you got, Jason? And we already saw Atrisco. Talked about them. Look for the Knights. Gavin Gomez sent in the Knights picture. So that's Deming, the girls from Deming. They're ready to go. Let's see who else. There's La Cueva, the girls. Let's talk about them for a second here. Actually, it's the boys and the girls team, right? Is that both? Or is that just the guys? That's the boys team only, right? Well, let's talk about both, since it's La Cueva. Girls first.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a Jordan Dyer, you got to feel like you have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, she does so much for this team. Averages 20 points per game. She's right around 10 rebounds. What's most impressive to me, though, is her on the defensive end. She creates so many runouts and is so good in transition. I really like Ava Goreshi, the Washington State commit in soccer. I think she does a lot for this team, a really good glue player. And so, no, I think they have enough around her. Paz Romero is another player that I really like.
Hit some threes the other night.
Yeah. So, they've had to fight it out with Sandia, and it's been tough for them. But if they get the right matchup, I think they could be dangerous.
On the boys' side, Michael, I think this is a La Cueva team that they lost almost everything, right? All their contributors from varsity last year. Coach Horrell would tell everyone that would listen, hey, we're going to get better. I know it doesn't look good right now, but we're going to get better. And sure enough, he was right. I think, and you can tie that back to Hunter Butler becoming their go-to guy, and then the smooth point guard play of Drew Bramley. It's funny, I was interviewing Drew, the other night after the game and said, well, I'm just a sophomore. I said, there's no more sophomores in March. As far as I'm concerned, that SO stands for smooth operator because Drew's really been nice at that point guard position. What do you think about the La Cueva Bears?
I mean, La Cueva's a team you can't sleep on. I mean, you have Bramlett, you have Cowles, you got Butler. You got those three guys that can just take over at any moment in the game. And when they're going and they're on, how do you stop them?
Their size, Sebastian, Tony Trujillo is another guy that we haven't really talked about from La Cueva, but they're so good at getting offensive rebounds and second chance opportunities. Not only does that pay dividends for them scoring, but it limits other teams' possessions. I think one of the best rebounding teams in Class 5A boys.
Ed, do you have any thoughts on the La Cueva Bears?
As I think with Cal's really, I think he was hurt the first couple of games, and when he came back, he's a difference maker. He spreads the floor. He's a slasher. He's long. He can make some defensive plays. So I thought when he came back, they turned into a much better team. But to your point, to Drew Bramlett, the son of A.J. Bramlett, who's 6'9", and Drew's, 6 feet? I mean, Drew Bramlett has turned into a great distributor, a great playmaker, and then he'll hit his hit his shot when he needs to. So he's turned into I think a very solid point guard, and that's helped him too. That's helped him grow. Coach Orwell said at first they weren't going to be very good. Started out 0-3. And then they started putting it together. And I thought with Cowles and you mentioned Butler inside, those guys are big, man. They got some size inside. They really do.
That's how they give teams trouble, right?
Yeah.
Is with their size and physicality, right? Let's go back to the Twitter one more time. Centennial, the Hawks, the Lady Hawks there. That's a really good team from down south as well. I mean, I know a lot of the attention goes to Mayfield. That's where we led off today. Well, we were talking about the Cleveland Storm in the house there. We already covered them. Let's see who else we got. There's my Knights of Del Norte High. All right, let's talk about the Knights. It's about time. It's that time of the year. It's March Madness. It's Macintosh time, right? All right, do the Knights have a chance in this thing, Nick? You've seen a lot of them.
I like Del Norte a lot, just the way that they play. Really fast, up-tempo. Jerron McIntosh, as you mentioned, as a double-digit seed, which I don't think the Knights get this year, he's gotten to the Final Four or the state championship 3 times in his coaching career, brought Del Norte its first state championship. This Del Norte team, I really like Francois Sachivi, who you had on Local Focus. Really like him a lot, averages 15 points per game, paces this Del Norte team. One of the best scorers in transition in New Mexico, regardless of class. God, if that kid gets on a full head of steam, watch out. He's getting 2 points, you're getting to the free throw line. Gavin Gomez, a lights-out three-point shooter, hit 6 threes in the APS Metro tournament against Atrisco Heritage. I like Del Norte a lot.
Ed?
I think my son makes a great point there. Not only that, he makes the point about Sachivi, 15 points and 4 rebounds. But what I really like, and you mentioned it too, is Jerron. I really like one of the top coaches in the state. He really is.
No doubt.
Yeah, he got Del Norte state championship in 2021 when they beat Artesia. So I've always liked him. He got them in 2016 to 17, got Del Norte to the semifinals as a 12 seed. So I really think the coaching makes a difference. I'm glad to see. Who doesn't like the guy? He's one of the top coaches in the state, but a good person, man. So I'm always rooting for him too. And I think the Knights could be dangerous too.
I think what the Knights need this year, if they're going to make a run, is Francois. We need your leadership. We need your leadership, man. The only difference in that Valley overtime loss was just a little bit of leadership at the end there, right? A little bit of positive body language, a little bit of leadership. That's the only thing sometimes that team is missing. Yeah. They seem to hang their heads on the court sometimes. They have all the pieces, but good teams, the leadership comes from the court. It doesn't come from the coach's box. Yeah. I think that's the only... Francois, we need you, man. We need you for that run, baby. Yeah. I know you got it in you.
This is a team with like 9 or 10 seniors too, though, Sebastian.
Right.
So these guys have been in the program for 3-4 years. I think when the time is right, when they need it, they'll develop. Francois will develop into that leadership role, and they'll get that production when they need it.
Let's talk about the team that beat them 3 times, though, and that's the Valley Vikings. I think one thing Valley showed me, especially in that overtime game, is they got 3 dudes on the floor that are not afraid of the basketball down the stretch. Mondragon, whether it's Carter Monroe, whether it's Villa. I mean, it doesn't matter. Those are guys who want the ball in their hand. That hasn't always been the case. This is a Valley team. You think, oh, well, they were in the championship, right? But those guys didn't play in the championship. No, those guys are all come and gone. That's a whole new bunch that Coach Panas has playing really well right now.
Mondragon got some minutes last year, but outside of him, they lost 9 seniors from last year's team. This Valley team really reminds me of the Valley team of 2023 when they were the double-digit seed, got to the semifinals, and had a shot against Academy when Academy won it that year. I had them the very first game of the season. It was a 2-point loss to St. Pius, 55-53, just to come out of the District of Champions and win the district tournament championship last night over Academy. Coach Panas has this team clicking and peaking at the right time.
I think talk about Valley, Ed, and then we'll go to the next one.
Yeah, I think some of those guys, it's true, didn't play, last year at the pit, but there's a culture. You went to the pit, so the guys were there. They saw that culture. When a team has been to the championship, that works within the program, because everybody's like, well, hey man, they're part of a championship team. We went to the championship last year. We want to be a part of that. So even though they weren't there, I think culture matters, and winning, and Easy Panas has done a good job there.
It's a big win against Academy last night, right? The Academy won the regular season district tournament, or won the regular season district, but the tournament went to the Vikings last night.
Yeah, I mean, you see how competitive that district is. Valley, Academy, those two back and forth whole season. And Valley, I mean, as Ed said, culture, experience, I don't see them losing.
No, interesting. All right, let's see what else. We had a few more pictures come through there. That's the Eunice Cardinals that go down south. They've had a nice season there. Again, that's another one of those classifications that's pretty top heavy, isn't it, Michael?
It's top heavy. I mean, you got Tatum, Texaco, Eunice, Mesa Vista, Pecos, Tucumcari. That's just a top loaded classification.
But Eunice, you never know. That wall of champions in Eunice, that's great motivator to get up on that wall of champions there. The Rio Rancho girls, maybe this is a year early. What a job Coach Mabry's done almost instantly since arriving at the program, awaking a sleeping giant. I don't think any of us are surprised when she took that job that she was going to turn it around. And this is a good young team, isn't it? Nick, let's start with you. What do you think about this young Rio Rancho team?
Trending in the right direction, won 6 games in a row before the district tournament championship. They got 2 freshmen that average close to double figures. Madeline Martinez, 15 points per game. Larissa Martinez, 9 points per game. Coach Mabry, you can never count her out, man. The job that she did at Cibola coming over to Rio Rancho, I like this team a lot.
You've seen them a lot?
I've seen them a lot. And, I mean, twin sisters, unstoppable, including their other sister. Those 3-headed monsters, who are you going to stop out there when they're all together?
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that, they're very hard to guard off the dribble, aren't they?
They're quick off the dribble.
You've seen them as well.
Well, just a couple of times, but don't forget Daisha Jack. She's a heck of a player too.
She can lock you down, that's for sure.
And Eric Jack, I want to mention, Lori Mabry has, mentioned, done a great job. And Eric Jack stepping in for Coach Mabry, with the unfortunate passing of Buster Mabry. Eric Jack did a heck of a job coaching there.
I think we see Bulldog City represented on Twitter. I saw it as I took a peek. Jason, see if you can find that one, because it looks like the boys and girls teams are all put together there in the beautiful atrium at Albuquerque High. We'll see if Jay finds it. But while he does, Coach Barella sent it in. He was just a guest on the Steve Davis show. His Bulldogs clean sweep of the district. We've been talking about Atrisco a lot, rightfully so. But we shouldn't discount the Bulldogs, because remember what they did last year? Coach Barella has them peaking right around the same time, possibly, right? Talk about the Bulldogs.
I mean, Albuquerque High had a tough first game of the season against Volcano, but it's Volcano. Nobody expects different of Volcano, but then you see the run that Albuquerque High goes on. They suffer a loss to Class 3A Robertson, but then they pick themselves right back up, and look where they are now.
Won 10 in a row before the district tournament championship last night. Really like this team. Ethan Etzel, the junior post.
Love him.
Yeah.
I love him.
I know. We saw him, right? We were together when Albuquerque High beat Cibola a couple weeks ago. I spoke with Coach Heritage about him briefly yesterday. He's like, he's good.
And their backup, Bellamy's really good.
Yeah.
I think that's something that, we say size never slumps, right? At the pit.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're all right. Ali Mirales is another guy. He can shoot the 3. He hit the first 2 threes of the game last night against Atrisco Heritage. Albuquerque High goes up 6-0, and they kind of lost it after that. But this is a balanced team. Noah Barella, Leroy Barella's son, another guy that was named second team all-district. So a really balanced team. Fell short last night in the district tournament championship, but I think they'll bounce back and have a good first round.
Ed, any thoughts on the Bulldogs?
I want to mention Coach Leroy Barella. As you mentioned, he was the guest of Steve Davis here last Tuesday. He's done a solid job. He really has. They only had, think about it, Coach Holzman, Coach Estrada stepped in for a while. then Coach Garcia, and then Greg Brown, and then Leroy Barella. It's not like they've had a lot of coaches. Coach Holzman was there for decades, man. So I think Coach Barella, who came from Las Vegas, Robertson, and then Coach the El Dorado.
There they are.
Yeah, Coach the El Dorado girls. I was reading Coach. Nick and I were just there yesterday.
Go back one picture, Jason. I didn't think Coach Barella actually ate anymore. Look, he's eating. He looks so good now. He's actually eating.
You see the greens, though. Those are greens.
Yeah, it's
Those are
broccoli.
vegetables.
Because he said he had started eating more healthier. He looks great, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think he's just done. And I was telling my son this back in the day at Bulldog City. Gosh, man, the tradition and the gyms being full. Man, they were a powerhouse. 7 championships, and man, some of the teams they had were unbelievable. And so when I was there yesterday, it kind of reminded me of that tradition. The sides weren't, both sides weren't as full as they might have been in the past. But I tell you what, my son told me this when he was there a couple of weeks ago. That, hey, Dad, they're bringing back the tradition. So I got to give it to Coach Barella. Yeah, I got to give it to him, man. He's done a great job there. He really has.
The girls were represented in that picture, so it would be blasphemous not to talk about the job Coach Morrison has done with that team. You talk about a young, exciting team that's fun to watch. And it's not just because there's a Pavia on the court either. Abby Pavia, she's fun to watch. But it's a pretty complete team that the Bulldogs have there. Michael, talk about the Bulldogs.
I mean, Coach Morrison, phenomenal coach. She was at Santa Fe Indian, had a phenomenal team, and then she comes to Albuquerque High, and she doesn't miss a beat with these girls. Yes, they're new to her, and she's new to them, but the way they're playing and the way they look, it doesn't look like any players have missed a beat with this new coach.
Can they make some noise in this tournament?
I think so. I was there for the district tournament championship when they beat Los Lunas yesterday. They came out 16-0 on Los Lunas in the first quarter. Layla Bolden, named first team all-district for Albuquerque High. She hit 5 threes. I think they're balanced enough to where they could make some noise. If they got Sandia on a night where they're not shooting very well, or Hobbs. Pavia, she's only an 8th grader, but her ball handling is elite. She does not look like an 8th grader out there. She looks like an upperclassman. She gives them a chance against teams that pressure, teams that press. I think they can make some noise.
All right, let's take a look here. We got Navajo Prep. Boys or girls? Girls. Okay, the girls at Navajo Prep, they're represented right there. That's a good team.
Phenomenal team.
That's a really good team. I mean, what do you I mean, West Las Vegas finished at the top of the coaches poll. That surprised me a little bit. I think Navajo Prep was. I thought maybe they would have slipped by at the end there. What do you think? I mean, 12-0 in district, 21-5 regular season. This is a stacked team, and they graduated some pieces.
Yeah, they graduated key pieces, but then you see where they are now, and it looks like they didn't lose anybody the way they're playing. Yes, they suffered a home loss to West Las Vegas, but this is a team you just can't sleep on at all, especially in March.
They're the defending 3A champions in girls class 3A,
Right.
so we should start there for sure, right?
Yeah.
And Coach Rainey Crisp does just such an amazing job.
Man, gosh.
I love this classification on the girls' side because if you get a Navajo Prep, maybe a Tehachapi, one of those, the pit's going to be rocking for a game like that, right? Jason, you want us to take a break? We've been going a long time. There are some brackets. Let's take a break. Keep sending us your pictures at ProView TV, but when we come back, I think we might have a couple of brackets for you to look at when we return. You're watching Bracket Breakdown, brought to you by Southwest Style.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
I'm David C. Chavez, personal injury attorney. Our law firm was founded by my father, Thibaut J. Chavez, with one goal: to get New Mexicans the help they need. That's why we built a different kind of law firm. We focus on family values, dedicated service, and we make a real contribution by giving back to our communities. We can't change what happened to you or your loved ones, but we can help you get back on the road to recovery. We're by your side, and we're still as local as red and green.
conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue.
Bracket time. Let's throw the first one up there. You're watching Bracket Breakdown, brought to you by Southwest Style. We've talked a lot about different teams based on who's been watching with watch parties. I think that was a cool way to do it. It's just, whoever sends us a picture of the watch party, we talk about them. But now we have some actual brackets to look at. Our director, Jason Pohl, tells us that a few are already ready, been released by the NMAA. So we'll throw those up there in just a second. Well, let's see where we want to start. We'll start with 1A girls. The number 1 seed is Roy Mosquito. No surprise, they're a 25-0 season, clean slate in district. They were number 1 in the coaches poll, and of course number 1 in Max Preps. Congratulations to Coach Blair Clavel and the overall number 1 seed. The other top seeds there, Fort Sumner House, Coach Ben Segura. They were the number 2 team ranked on the coaches poll, and in Max Preps, the other high seeds there, 3. It's Melrose. The Lady Buffaloes, 22-3, 10-0 finisher out of District 4, and then the 4 seed there is Quemado. Those are the top 4 seeds. The matchups, the 116, it's Roy Mosquito against Dora, the 8-9, always entertaining. Des Moines and Springer, the Red Devils. The Magdalena Steers face the number 12 seed, Elida. So strange to see a 12 by Elida's name, but that's what's happened since J.D. Isler's left town. The 4-13 is Quemado against Reserve. 3-14 Melrose and Pine Hill. 6-11 is Cliff and Gateway Christian. Corona Vaughn is the 7. They'll get the 10. Logan Tahajali's the 15. They'll get the number 2 Fort Sumner House. Michael, I'll turn to you. Anything surprise you at all here?
I mean, nothing surprises me at all. I mean, I think this bracket's perfect the way it's set up. I mean, you got district opponents, Springer, Des Moines, first round, and then you have district opponents, Quemado, Reserve districts playing in the first round. So it's going to be interesting what happens in this first round.
Nick, you've seen a lot of Harper Dunn, obviously, right? So, I mean, a conversation does start there.
Sure.
When you have a player like that averages 22 points, 19 rebounds, 7.5 blocks.
Yeah.
Can she carry her team out of the first round this year? That's the question.
Harper Dunn is the Wilt Chamberlain of 1A girls basketball in New Mexico, and fittingly so. I think her supporting cast around her has gotten better this year. Most of them were underclassmen last year. I think they played Fort Sumner House pretty tough at a tournament at Santa Rosa. And when you have somebody like her in the paint, changing shots on the defensive end, rebounding and scoring, I think they have a chance to get to the Final Four.
I think, I just want to interject there. Nick and I had her on our podcast, Road to the Pit, last year. And Chris Pettis from ABC has worked with her and probably worked more with her this summer on step-throughs, window-block shots. I was impressed by that because she said she doesn't want to go for every block to avoid fouls. I was impressed by that, by her defensive mentality already at a young age. She's only gotten better. She's gotten how many offers, Nick? She's got a bunch of college offers already. But I think the surrounding cast, of course, matters. But she has she's solid in that paint, and she will change and alter shots and block 8 or 10 shots a game, I'm sure.
Michael, at the lower classifications, 1A in particular, it's often pretty chalky. Is there a Cinderella in here, or do you see a lot of the top seeds finding their way through?
I mean, like Nick said, don't count out Corona Vaughn. They're a sneaky team, but you got to remember, Fort Sumner House is the defending state champs. They knocked off Roy Mosquito last year, but I think Roy Mosquito's coming for vengeance this year.
Yeah, Coach Clavell knows what he's doing too. I mean, boys and girls. Clavell coaching both teams at times. Crazy to think about, right? And but yeah, no, you never count out the blue. We'll pick some teams later in the bracket. Jason, you have another one for us to look at, I believe, right? We're going to keep going through these brackets. We know that's what you want to see, brackets. 2A girls, the number 1 seed is Tatum. Congratulations to Greg Slover and the Coyotes, 23-5 during the regular season, or 20 and 5, the 9-1 in district. They're the 1 seed. They were second in the coaches' polls with the 2 seeds, Mesa Vista at the bottom there. The 3 seed is Pecos, and the 4 seed is Jemez Valley. Matchup-wise, Tatum and Estancia, that's the 1-16. Cuesta, Laguna Acoma, the Hawks are the 8-9. The Rattlers of Tucumcari against the McCurdy Bobcats, that's the 5-12. Jemez Valley gets Legacy Academy in the 4-13. The 3-14 is Pecos against Chal. Texaco will face Mescalero Apache. Number 7 Eunice, who we saw pictured earlier, gets Mesilla Valley at 10. And the 15-2 is Ojo Academy against Mesa Vista. Michael, first look at this bracket. What are your thoughts?
I think this one's set up good as well. I mean, Texaco, phenomenal all year, and then they hit a rough patch here at the end. Pecos, Mesa Vista, and Tatum playing phenomenal ball, and McCurdy girls on a fantastic run right now.
Again, is there a game we need to look at? Is there an upset in this bracket? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm looking at 5-12.
Okay, that's Tucumcari and McCurdy. McCurdy 12. They're 16-10 during the regular year, 7-4. A really nice season for Coach Mel Martinez and the Bobcats. You think they maybe have a chance in that game, huh?
The way they're playing right now, I can see them upsetting a tough Tucumcari team at Tucumcari.
Okay.
I like Mesa Vista in this bracket, Sebastian. They were upset last year in the semifinals against Tularosa. Coach Jesse Boyce is hungry. Shout out to Tana Lopez for eclipsing 2,000 points, senior from Mesa Vista. Yeah. So I think it's Mesa Vista's year this year.
All right. Well, we're gonna pick some winners in that bracket in a second. I believe Jason has the 3A girls for us, so we're gonna just keep rolling through some brackets. That's what we like to see. 3A girls, the number 1 team. We talked about them earlier. Navajo Prep. Congratulations to the defending champs and Coach Rainey Crisp. No surprise there. They're the 1 seed. The number 2 seed at the bottom, it's the Lady Dons of West Las Vegas. The 3 seed, Santa Fe Indian. The Braves, and the 4 seed, it's Robertson. The matchups, Navajo Prep against St. Michael's. Wingate against Crown Point in the 8-9. The 5-12 is Tohatchi and Cuba. There's Robertson against Sandia Prep in the opening round. Santa Fe Indian, the Braves, get the Warriors of Ruidoso. The Rue and Cobras, the 6-11. The 7-10 features the Newcomb Skyhawks against Tularosa. And the 15 seed Dexter Demons will travel to face West Las Vegas. There's the 3A bracket. We talked about it earlier. Very, very top heavy with West Las Vegas and Navajo Prep, which could never count out Tohatchi and Coach Bitsoy. Michael, what are your thoughts on this bracket?
I mean, it was going to be beneficial of who was going to be determined of number 1 seed between Navajo Prep and West End. The way it's been played, Navajo Prep does deserve it. They are the defending state champs, and I don't see them being stopped.
They could run into Tohatchi pretty early, assuming Tohatchi took care of business against maybe Robertson. That's interesting. Anything in this bracket, Nick, that stands out to you?
No, I've seen West Las Vegas. I saw them at the Hope Christian Invitational in January. Really like Alexis Pacheco. We saw her committed to, I think, Lubbock Christian in softball, averages 20 points per game. It's a team that just likes to play up-tempo. They put a lot of pressure on you. So seeing that West Las Vegas Navajo Prep State Championship, if it shakes out that way, that'd be an exciting one to see.
West Las Vegas, when we saw them, pressed all game long. And I had Coach Ulubadi on the sports desk, and he's done a heck of a job there at West Las Vegas. When you talk about Navajo Prep and Rainey Crisp, gosh, what a legend, man. She's that's one coach I haven't been able to corral to come on the sports desk. I'm still going to try because she's how many wins does she have overall? She's one of the top winning coaches, regardless of men or women or boys or girls in the state. So when you talk about her and I hear that name, I'm like, gosh, she's been there for so long and has done such a great job.
Anything else? Cinderella in here at all, Michael, you think? Or pretty top heavy, like you said?
I mean, don't count out Tohatchi like you said. There's them at Navajo Prep.
I'm not going to count them out. I'm riding them all the way to the championship, Michael. I'm not counting out Tohatchi and Coach Bitsoy. No way.
Don't count out Santa Fe Indian School either. They're a deep March team when it comes to this type of style play.
All right. And this is, again, one of those brackets, Nick, that draws a magical pit crowd, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. And let's talk about Robertson, another team up north, Magic Medina, just the run that he's had. Fell short last year at the Rio Rancho Event Center, but I think he's got his team hungry. He's had to battle it out with West Las Vegas in district play, so watch out for them as well.
4A girls bracket is next, I believe. There it is, the number 1 seed. No surprise, despite a little slip-up last night against Gallup. Kirtland Central is the number 1 seed. Congratulations to head coach Devin Manning. What an amazing job he's done. They were also the runner-up in the APS Metro tournament. They'll have the number 16 team Goddard. The 2 seed, it's Gallup on the opposite side of the bracket there, and the Bengals under head coach Todd McBroom. Again, in the district tournament championship last night, they righted the ship against Kirtland Central. They got the W. The 3 seed is Portales, Coach Fraze. I mean, we might have to move to Texas to get a scouting report on Portales. They played 11 games out of the state of New Mexico, but there they are at the number 3 seed. The 4 seed, it's Valencia. Congratulations to the Jaguars and Coach Ray Montoya. He was on Manny Otero's staff during the state championship at West Mesa. The young guy got his own program. He's built it up to a very, very good team there at Valencia. I'm really happy for him there. Those are the top 4 seeds. Matchup-wise, we talked about Kirtland Central Goddard already. Lovington, who we pictured earlier, they're in the 8-9. They'll get the home game against Hope Christian. So Coach Cole and the Huskies will have to travel in the opening round. The 5-12 features Albuquerque Academy and Coach Skarsgård against the number 12-seeded Silver Colts. The 4-13, it's Valencia against Highland. Head coach Lonnie Neal, 14-14 record this year, but still going back to the playoffs are the Hornets. The 3-14, it's Portales against Shiprock. Shiprock's fallen on some hard times since they have not been coached by Lorenz and Henderson way back in the day, but they're in the tournament, but they'll have a tough one in the opening round. The 6-11 is St. Pius against Pojoaque Valley. The 7-10 features Deming and Espanola Valley. They're at the bottom. The Artesia Bulldogs, they're in at 15. They'll get the number 2-seeded Gallup Bengals. Nick, I'll go to you first. Again, this is one of those like where everyone wants to see 1 against 2, right? But there's other teams here that can make noise.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with St. Pius. I've seen a lot of their games this year. I think I may need to go back to my NMA selection criteria class and figure out how St. Pius gets the 6, Valencia gets the 4. St. Pius won the regular season, beat Valencia in the district tiebreaker, but Valencia gets the 4, St. Pius gets the 6. That's sometimes how the bracket shakes out. I talked to Highland head coach Lonnie Neal about Kirtland Central and Gallup, and these are just 2 teams where you cannot get down in a double-digit hole early in the game. You got to punch them early because if they hit you first and you got to come back from 20, it's very rare that most teams can do that in girls class 4A. So St. Pius did that last year. They made it to the state championship. They were up 14-6 on Kirtland Central. I think that's a team that can make some noise.
Ed, Coach Skarsgård's got the Chargers playing well this year, especially on the offensive end. They have one of my favorite Lobos of all time, Anaya Ogman, helping out defensively. I remember I was watching them at the tournament at the academy there, and Anaya just kind of gets up, walks over to the girls' huddle, says, we're ball watching, girls. That's unacceptable. And then she goes and sits. But she made me want to go out and play defense, right? Like, that's a good young team. They could make some noise, right?
So, Coach Skarsgård's done a great job there. And I think I asked Coach Skarsgård about Anaya Ogman, who's only 20 years old, or she's very young. Does that itch to still play? Is it still in her? And he said, not right now. And she's, she's, like you mentioned, doing a great job coaching, helping coach there. They're 23-4. They beat Hope Christian. They won 10 in a row. They're trending upward, and I think we're always looking. They did lose to Mayfield earlier in the academy tournament. But as I mentioned, their last loss was on January 25th, I believe. So, 14 wins in a row. So, again, Coach Skarsgård, I think they could make some noise there. They've got Addie Spradley, another good player there. And so I think he's done a wonderful job. His second year there, is it his first year? So he's done a great job there.
You're not going to believe this, but it didn't go to our Twitter. It went directly to me. But Nate Acosta just sent me a picture of a referee's watch party.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
Can you put it up? I mean, those are my guys, man.
Yeah, send that,
referee.
Nate.
Put it up.
Send that to @ProView TV, man.
By the way, I'd love to get a list of who made the tournament.
I see some of my guys in there. There's Doug in the back. There's Berto. There's Brashawn. There's David Montoya. Yeah, if you can send that to @ProView TV, we'll get that up there. Hey, the tournament's not possible without those guys.
For sure.
Right? Do you want to make a case for anyone else in that bracket, Michael? Or
I mean, you look at Pojoaque Valley and Espanola Valley, 2 strong teams from the north. I mean, they're not seeded well, but it's March. Anything can happen. So don't count out the Sun Devils and the Elkettes.
All right, 4A bracket there. We'll pick some winners later on. Do we have another bracket to go to, Jason? Oh, we got them all. Well, then let's just roll through then and go right on to the 5A girls bracket then. We're staying on the girls' side here. No surprise with the number 1 seed. Congratulations to Coach Carpenter and the Hobbs Eagles. We mentioned it earlier, 23rd consecutive district championship between Roswell and Hobbs for Coach Carpenter. The last team in, Piedra Vista. And that means, by the looks of the bracket, West Mesa is out. Right? I don't see them there. That was the potential 16 seed. I know Coach Otero was hoping that he would get a crack at this, but the 16's PV. The 8-9, it's Clovis against Volcano Vista. The 5-12 features Albuquerque High, who we spotlighted earlier, against Carlsbad. The 4-13 is Farmington against the Cleveland Storm, new head coach there at Cleveland. Mayfield, congratulations to the legend, George Maya. He's the 3 seed. He'll get Roswell the 14 in the opening round. La Cueva, Coach Kogan, they're the 6. She talked about this matchup. I was talking to her about this matchup a lot when I saw her the other day. She thought she might get Las Cruces, and that's a tough matchup. That's not an 11 seed. Coach Selby will have them ready. They will give La Cueva all they can handle, I bet.
Sorry, go ahead. Sebastian.
Go ahead. No, absolutely. If you want to jump in on that.
Yeah, well, just because I saw Las Cruces in the pit 2 years ago, they upset Farmington as a 7 seed. And so Betsy Quinones is back from that team. She averages 15 points a game. I like Las Cruces a lot. They battled with Mayfield.
7-10, it's Los Lunas against Rio Rancho. We talked about Coach Mabry's team earlier. And the number 2 seed, we talked about Sandia. They'll get the 15 Centennial. I want to swing it over to Ed first. Is there anything that catches your eye in this tournament? Or is there any upset special that you want to talk about? Or any of those first-round matchups that you want to hone in on?
You know, I think Los Lunas, Manny Garcia is is it Garcia? Or it's
Manny Villa.
Manny Villa. Done a good job there at Los Lunas. Rio Rancho, that's a tough first matchup for Los Lunas. They're coming off a loss to Albuquerque High, the district championship. But I think that could be one that could go either way. It really could. Rio Rancho's trending upward, and Los Lunas may be trending down. But he's done a good job. Manny Villa's done a good job there. I think my son is right about La Cueva, Las Cruces. Marissa Kogan has done another good coaching job there at La Cueva as well. Cleveland under Becky Pekorski. That's an interesting matchup there against Farmington. Becky Pekorski, first year there at Cleveland. I think that's an interesting matchup as well. You know, we mentioned Albuquerque High against Carlsbad. And Terry Morrison, before she went to Navajo Prep, actually coached in Texas. Has like 750 victories overall, man. She has a pamphlet. I had her on the sports desk a couple weeks ago, and she's a phenomenal coach. She really is, and done a heck of a job there at Albuquerque High. And I think Nick, you were mentioning Albuquerque High's won the district championship and the regular season district championship 4 years in a row.
Yeah,
that might be understated there.
Nice little role that the girls have been on in Albuquerque High.
Across 2 coaching staffs too.
So. Yeah, Janae Campos was the coach before.
She did a great job.
She did. Clovis, Volcano Vista, Mia Espinosa out for the year. Lisa Villarreal, 5 state championships, one of the best coaches in New Mexico state history. There's no doubt. But, they're a little shorthanded. But, I think they're that matchup there. They're 9 versus 8. And Clovis has had a good year, too. But I wouldn't bet against Coach Villarreal in that matchup.
Michael, we talked a lot about that La Cueva Las Cruces matchup. What about if you look at that bottom of the bracket there? Los Lunas is a team that really defends well. Is that a team, if they get past Rio Rancho? That's not an easy second round game for Sandia. There isn't. Either way, either opponent.
Yeah, either opponent. Doesn't matter who they get. It's just going to be a tough matchup for both teams because you see the way they play, and it's just who wants it more.
Yeah.
Coach Carpenter, he might run into Volcano Vista again right away in the second round, right? We'll get back to this when we start doing some picks. Jason, do you want to move us over to the boys' brackets, or do you want us to take a break? All right, let's go right to the boys' brackets then. 1A boys is first, the number 1 seed Slogan. Congratulations to the Longhorns and Coach Kyle Griffiths, the number 1 overall seed. The number 2, it's Melrose, the Buffaloes. Congratulations to head coach Drew Hatley and the Buffaloes, a second year at the helm there for Coach Hatley. The 3 seed at that bottom of the brackets, Fort Sumner House. What a great job he does over there. Brad Holland, no stranger to success. And the 4 seed, it's the Steers of Magdalena and Jory Mirabal. You talk about success. Coach Mirabal knows what that's all about. Those are the top 4 seeds. As we look at the bracket, the 8-9 features Cliff and Gateway Christian. 5-12 is Roy Mosquero and Dora. The 4-13, it's Magdalena and Quemado. Fort Sumner House will get Pine Hill. Cimarron gets Alamo Navajo. Maxwell, the Bears, gets Mountain Air. The Red Devils, they slip in there at 15. They get Melrose. Your first thoughts on this bracket?
I mean, top 2 teams, well-deserving. Melrose goes in and beats Logan, and then Logan just sweeps Fort Sumner House. But you got to remember, Fort Sumner House, defending state champs.
Yeah, there's a Melrose team that came up into the metro area, played a 5A opponent in Rio Grande, and they played a 4A opponent in Del Norte. I mean, Coach Hatley putting his team to the test. Nick, what are your thoughts about this bracket here?
Well, Melrose, the only team to defeat Logan. I had the 1A state championship last year. It was Fort Sumner House and Magdalena. You can never count Coach Mirabal out, for sure. Fort Sumner House did graduate a few seniors from last year's team, but they got Coach Brad Holland's son. So, and Fort Sumner House just played Logan in the district tournament championship, 103-87. That's high score. And those are NBA scores right there. So I have that championship again this year, and I can't wait.
Mason Wallen, 19 points, 8 rebounds on 60% shooting for Logan. Like, I was looking up and down their roster, and once I saw all those football kids also play basketball, I could see why they've been so successful, because that's a good team.
Yeah, it's a very good team. I mean, they have championship culture in Logan. It's just, they're dominant in everything they do.
Any upsets here? Or a Cinderella to look at?
I mean, I've gone up against him past 2 years, but I'm going to go with Coach Brazil this year to pull off an upset.
The legend? Yeah, that's not a bad one. All right, we'll get back to this when we do our picks. But 2A, I've been waiting to see this 2A bracket. Let's take a look. There's the number 1 seed, Texaco, the Wolverines. Congratulations to Coach Cook. The number 2 seed at the bottom, it's Santa Rosa, the Lions, and Coach Esquivel. The 3 seed at the bottom there, it's Mesa Vista, and then the 4 is Pecos. Those are your top 4 seeds. Look at the matchups there. Texaco gets Tucumcari, the Rattlers, McCurdy, and Jal in the 8-9. Mesilla Valley, the Sunblazers gets Mora. In the 5-12, Pecos Panthers get Oak Grove at the 4-13. There's Mesa Vista against the tough Manal team at 14. Silverbacks and head coach Brian Joyce at Legacy Academy. They're the 6 against the number 11 seed Eunice. Rehoboth Christian, the Lynx, gets Hagerman at 10 in the 7-10 matchup. Ratones the 15. They get the 2 Santa Rosa. First initial thoughts there, Michael?
I mean, top 4 is expected as usual. All top 4 teams just dominated 2A all year. I don't see anything happening to them.
The Legacy Academy team, 10-0 in district, 21-5, and they got a really, really good head coach. Love their post players. They could use another guard, I'm not going to lie, but they got a little bit of beef, and obviously they're well coached. Could you make a case for them?
I mean, you can, because with a good coach, you're going to have a successful program, and they're going to rely on you, and they trust you.
Right. Nick, some thoughts in this bracket here?
Shoot, man, it's hard to bet against Texaco in anything. Before I get to that, shout out to Joe Esquivel, head coach for Santa Rosa, sent me a text. Texaco, Santa Rosa, your matchup in the 2A football championship. These teams very well could meet up again in the 2A boys basketball championship. Back to Texaco. A lot of those guys from that 2A football championship are playing on this basketball team, the 1 seed. So right now I like Texaco.
All right, the 3A bracket, Ed, that's the one we want to get to. I know we want to talk about that powerhouse district in 3A boys, right? Because that district, it never disappoints. That district gives us the number 1 seed, St. Michael's. That district gives us the number 2 seed, Robertson. It gives us there's a 3 in Tahatchee. And then where's the 4 at? That's Tularosa right there. Let's talk some matchups, though. St. Mike's against Santa Fe Prep. Navajo Prep against Hot Springs. Bosque against Nemi, Tularosa, East Mountain, Tahatchee, Ruidoso, Santa Fe Indian. There's another member of that district, Cobre. And there's West against Sandia Prep. So we could have a potential West versus East matchup right out of the gate in the second round. I want to go to you first, Ed. Is there anyone outside of that district that you can make a case for, or is the champion coming out of that district again?
Outside, St. Mike's, they lost last night to Robertson, and Mike and I were talking about Las Vegas Robertson. And I asked, Coach Branch has been dismissed there, and I asked, because when a coach leaves in the middle of the season like that, has been dismissed, you always wonder, and they've been playing very well before that. What's the after effect? How are they playing now? Mike, you said they're playing very well.
Oh,
Coach Bustos has them playing very well.
They flipped the switch after the 2-game losing streak they went on. They just flipped the switch, and they're just unstoppable. playing at a different level now.
And that's good to hear because we mentioned coaching matters, and Coach Bustos has to be doing a good job there at Robertson. The other team I want to talk a little bit about is Sandia Prep. They had been beaten badly by Bosque earlier in the season. They last night they got beat, but by 3. And one of our favorite coaches, my son and I, Damian Segura, who won 4 championships at St. Pius, has done, I think, a wonderful job there at Sandia Prep. He really has. He's one of the best coaches in the state. There's no doubt about it. We don't win 4 championships without knowing how to coach. So kind of looking forward to seeing him, in this bracket. Navajo Prep versus Hot Springs. We mentioned Coach Bean. And Navajo Prep lost a lot from last year's team, but they're still dangerous.
Right.
Saw them there at the Rio Rancho tournament. I still think they're pretty good, but I think it's hard to bet against St. Mike's or Robertson as being the eventual champion. And I think Mike made a good point. They hired the St. Mike's coach from Clayton, and I think a lot of people were kind of skeptical. Even though Coach Garcia did a great job there, won a title. And I was kind of spinning my head like, okay, the guy won a title.
St. Michael's way, right?
Right.
Hire a new coach every year.
That just
See what
surprised me.
happens?
And so they hired the guy. He's done a good job.
Right? I think
He's
they
done a
got-
good job.
I think they got Coach Rodriguez on speed dial just in case, don't
Yeah.
they?
There you go.
But we're going to get back to this bracket when we do our picks. Is that all right, Nick?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, great. Well, let's go to 4A then, because I do want to get all the brackets out. Then we'll do our picks. We'll dive in depth a little more. There's 4A, the number 1 seed. It's St. Pius. Congratulations to Coach Ryan Myers and the Sartans. They get the 16. Goddard again, and then the 8-9. It's Highland and Del Norte. The nightmare scenario for myself and Night Nation. It's come true. I was really hoping Del Norte would get an out-of-town team and beat up on them like we always do. But that's not going to happen this year, I guess. The 5-12's Milwaukee Valley against Taos 12. Taos won last night, right, in the district tournament championship game. The 4 seeds Albuquerque Academy. Congratulations to Coach Alvin Broussard of the 13 Grants. Espanola Valley is the 3 seed against the 14 Belen. The 6 is Silver against the number 11 Hope Christian and the Huskies. Can't count out Coach Murphy. There's the 7 Valley against a very good 10 seed. Lovington might be a little better than that number 10. I think Valley might have their handful in that one. Artesia's the 2 seed. They'll get Gallup. Just initial thoughts. We'll get really deep into the weeds when we pick winners, but just some initial thoughts there, Nick.
There's a lot of parity in 4A. I spoke with head coach Ryan Myers for St. Pius about that. I think it's an open class that really anybody could win. St. Pius very deserving of that number 1 seed. An elite defensive team, an elite rebounding team. You look at the other side of the bracket, Artesia, they lose 2 games at the end of the season, 1 to Roswell Goddard, 1 to Portales. Nobody saw that coming. They're still a very dangerous team led by Charlie Campbell. Espanola Valley and Milwaukee Valley and Taos, the teams up in the north. Mike, you could probably talk about that more than me. Those teams beat up on each other. Taos won the district tournament championship against Espanola Valley. Pius lost to Academy earlier this season and then also beat them in the Sandia Prep Sun Devil Invitational. So just a lot of parity in 4A. I think is wide open, Sebastian.
Yeah, Mike, how did Taos run through that tournament? Tell us about the Tigers.
I mean, when you're familiar with an opponent like Espanola Valley and Milwaukee Valley, you know how to adjust, you know how to fix your problems. And to go into 2 environments like Milwaukee and Espanola Valley to win, it's just truly something that's unbelievable.
Espanola Valley, that's a tough team. They got some nice guards there. Well, we'll get into that when we do the individual matchups. The 5 seed, the 5A boys bracket. We're gonna get the last bracket out there. Then we'll take a commercial break and then we'll go picks where we can really dive into some matchups. There it is. The number 1 seed, Volcano Vista. On the boys' side, West Mesa does get in. The girls did not. The boys do. The 16 seed is West Mesa. By the way, if I could take a moment and talk about Coach Urel, I thought he was doing a phenomenal job there. I was a public address announcer at West Mesa for years, so I got to sit right there next to Leo Urel when he was the head man of the JV team. I see the way he communicates with kids. I see the way he talks with kids. I see the way he teaches the game. I see the way he talks to students. He's a great head coach. He's done a phenomenal job with that team.
Yeah, I'd like to weigh in on that. I've known Leo for a very long time, the former Valley star, played in New Mexico Highlands, I believe, and I really think the world of him. I really do, and I know when Coach Schreier retired and he got his shot, I was so happy for him. I called him and I told him, man, I'm so proud of you, because I've known him since he's I remember when he played for Valley, and man, he was a tough player. He was a really good player. And so, yeah, I think he's done a great, phenomenal job there in his first season, and he's learned a lot. And with coaching, you never know what situations come up. I think he's handled them well. He's only going to get better. He's got a great staff around him, too. He's only going to get better.
The number 2 seed is the Hobbs Eagles at the bottom of the bracket. Head coach Ronald Ross gets the 2 ahead of the number 3 seeded Sandia Matadors. The Sandia Matadors were the 2 seed in the coaches poll ahead of Hobbs. However, Hobbs had the max preps criteria. All other criteria points tied. The tiebreaker in that criteria went back to max preps, and that's how Hobbs was slated ahead of Sandia. We'll debate on whether we think that Sandia is the second best team or not when we go through this bracket. The 4 seed, it's Roswell, the Coyotes. Congratulations to them. So that leaves the 8-9 being La Cueva and Cibola in a juicy matchup there. The 5-12 is Organ Mountain and Farmington. The 4-13 is Roswell and Carlsbad. The 3-14 is Sandia and Rio Rancho. The 6-11 is Albuquerque High and Santa Fe. The 7-10, it's Cleveland and Atrisco. It looks like the Storm got that coal in their stocking. They got Atrisco. And then the 2-15 is Hobbs and Las Cruces. Other than the Atrisco point, which we've made pretty consistently throughout, some thoughts on this bracket. I'll go to you first, Ed.
You know, no surprise there with Volcano definitely earning that number 1 seed there. You mentioned the Cueva Cibola. Coach Martinez thought last night they'd get a 10. They got a 9. And you mentioned Atrisco Heritage in Cleveland. I think that's, you know what, Zach Cole, and if he's watching or listening, and I think Mike and Nick, I don't know if you agree with this or not, it doesn't matter. You got to play who's in front of you. Atrisco Heritage is playing very well right now. They know each other well. They've played in the same district. Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to draw them either, but I thought that Cleveland was competitive last night. They could say, hey, look, we cut it to 14. Yes, they lost, but still, they played Volcano Vista a little bit better. So I think they got things to build on from that game. You've got Albrecht, you've got Bowie. So I think it's a great matchup. And that one is kind of really comes out to me. But whoever Atrisco is going to play, we're going to look at it with a different lens anyway, because Atrisco Heritage is on a roll right now. So I think that one there really it comes out to me. I don't know if looking at the bracket, Rio Rancho did not get in.
Oh,
right?
they did. They got the
did.
3-4.
So they,
for the 14.
okay, 14 versus, Coach Salata said 14. Wally, you were right on time on that, man. You got a 14. So, yeah, Santa Fe's been kind of, I'm surprised they lost to El Dorado the way they did, 70-47. They've been playing pretty well again under Francisco Rivera. And I was kind of surprised they lost the way they did. That might be a pretty interesting matchup. Albuquerque High coming off a district loss to a surging Atrisco Heritage team. So we'll see.
Sandia, first round matchup there, La Cueva gave Sandia some problems because they're physical, they're big, and they rebound. Well, those are some things that Rio Rancho does pretty well, right, Nick?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know if these teams matched up on the regular season or not. I'd have to go back and look. But look, man, like I said, Sandia, they speed you up so much on the defensive end of the floor that if there's any problems rebounding, they're going to generate a turnover before you even get a shot up sometimes. So, Rio Rancho, Coach Salata's had them kind of up and down, played really well at the beginning of the season, kind of hit their stride a little bit. They beat Cleveland last game of the season. You were there. It could be an interesting matchup. I wouldn't just pencil Sandia in right away.
The other team I wouldn't just automatically advance is the number 5 seed Organ Mountain. They've got some good players, especially their top 2-3 guys, right? Obviously with what Lenny Washington does, with what Venegas does. But this is a Farmington team they're so hard to prepare for. They run their stuff so patiently. Coach Chitty does a really nice job with that team. I mean, you've seen them when they've been really good. You've seen them when they haven't looked good, right? But you never know. I mean, if I woke up on Sunday morning and saw in the paper that Farmington won, I wouldn't be shocked.
I wouldn't be either. I mean, Farmington's a team you can't sleep on. They got Landon Begay, Mikey Beck, and their big man inside. It's just, they're patient. It's just a team you can't sleep on. I see that one.
Yeah.
And then Carlsbad's another one of those matchups. Coach Summerham just gives people fits because he plays that zone. He plays different than everybody. Tries to grind games out. I mean, yeah, Roswell on paper, they're probably the better team. But you talk about a contrast in styles in that one, right? I mean, Coach Summerham gives people problems.
Yeah, and I mean, it's March now. Records don't mean anything to this point. And seedings, they're just numbers.
Ed?
You know what? I want to go back to Organ Mountain, and they're 23-5 and 10-0, and Larry Don Chitty has been around a long time. He really has. And as you mentioned, Mike, he runs Landon Begay. I think averages 18 points for them, 18.9. So he's a veteran coach, man. He knows what he's doing there. But Organ Mountain's, Pac, Venegas, I like that team a lot. I liked them last year. I thought they had a chance to win, the championship. And as it turned out, it was a loaded team. Remember, Kyrus, Lenny Washington, Janai Wilson, or I can't remember.
Yeah, he's up at Highland
yes,
now.
tore his knee, unfortunately. An unbelievable athlete. So when I saw them, Coach Gonzalez and I were talking a lot, I thought they had a chance. So I think, yes, while I wouldn't go to sleep on Farmington and Larry Don Chitty, who's a veteran coach and is very good, I wouldn't go to sleep on Oregon Mountain either, man. They got a 23-5 record, and they've won 10-0 in district. I wouldn't. They play pretty darn well. They really have.
Final thought before we go to commercial break, Nick, on this bracket.
Look at all these metro area matchups, man. Volcano Vista, West Mesa, La Cueva, Cibola, Sandia, Rio Rancho. I consider Rio Rancho a metro area team. Cleveland, Atrisco. So the metro area represented really well. It's unfortunate that somebody between Cleveland and Atrisco Heritage is not going to advance to the pit. I know we've beat that horse dead. I won't talk about it anymore. But I think it shook out the way that most people thought it would. You could interchange Sandia, Hobbs, 2-3. But yeah, exciting 5A bracket. Let's see if anybody can knock off Volcano Vista.
To a commercial break. When we come back on Bracket Breakdown, brought to you by Southwest Style, we'll get into some picks. We'll go through the brackets one more time, starting on the girls' side, and we'll see what some of our experts here feel like they do. They have the courage to pick some upsets, or are we going to go chalk, chalk, chalk? We'll see when we come back.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
I'm David C. Chavez, personal injury attorney. Our law firm was founded by my father, Thibaut J. Chavez, with one goal: to get New Mexicans the help they need. That's why we built a different kind of law firm. We focus on family values, dedicated service, and we make a real contribution by giving back to our communities. We can't change what happened to you or your loved ones, but we can help you get back on the road to recovery. We're by your side, and we're still as local as red and green.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed gloves. I grew up here. New Mexico is in my blood. I'm a New Mexican fighting for other New Mexicans. I'm Adam Oki. I'll be your champion in the courtroom.
There we go, right there. Jason can't get enough of us. Put us up twice. All right, 1-8 girls. The number 1 seed there is Roy Mosquero. I mean, I guess you could maybe make a case for Fort Sumner House. I mean, Melrose has had a real nice season. We talked a little bit about Corona Vaughn. I do think that's a bit of a stretch. But if we throw that bracket back up there, the 1-8 girls, Michael, you'll be the guest picker for this bracket. Is that okay?
That's fine with me.
All right, take us to your semifinal, right to your semi. What do you got in the semis?
I mean, you got Roy Mosquero making it. Don't count out Mag. On the bottom of the bracket, Melrose automatic, and the 7-2 is going to be a dogfight if Corona Bond can make it to the second round.
Okay. And then, so who do you have in your championship?
1-2.
1-2, with the winner being?
I'm from the north. I love Roy Mosquero, but don't count out Fort Sumner House. They're the defending state champs for a reason.
All right.
They beat Roy Mosquero in the semis last year, too.
So there you go. All right. So we got our first 2 seed picked as a winner, Fort Sumner House. All right. Let's go to 2A girls. We'll move right ahead. The 1 seed there, it's Tatum. I know we're all pretty high on Mesa Vista. Pecos is the 3. Battle of the Panthers. Jemez Valley's the 4. Mike, what do you think?
I mean, Tatum's going to make it to the semis. The 5-12 first round matchup's going to be an upset in my opinion. And then the bottom of the bracket semis is going to be a packed event center with Pecos and Mesa Vista.
All right. Championship?
Tatum Pecos.
All right. Look, I know you got to go back to the little village, so that's a smart answer. All right, and then who do you got winning that one?
I got my hometown Pecos.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
There you
All
go.
right.
Yeah.
Nick, what do you got? You got there?
Yeah, I like Mesa Vista. Like I said earlier, I think Coach Boyce has a sour taste in his mouth for how the semifinals went, and so I got them all the way to the championship game. I think they can knock off Tatum.
I think we can all pick 3A girls. Let's go to the 3A girls one. That one's always a fun bracket. I call that the noisy pit bracket. We'll start with Mike. What do you think?
I mean,
Take us to your final 4.
Navajo Prep Tehachapi.
Okay.
And on the bottom, West Santa Fe Indian.
Okay. That's by the way, that's also my final 4. I'm Navajo Prep, Tehachapi, Santa Fe Indian, and West. Any difference there, either Ed or Nick?
I'll take Robertson in the semifinal. Magic Medina, Alexa King Greenwald. I'll ride them to the semis.
So will I.
All right. Championship. Who do you got?
Navajo Prep West.
Okay. With the winner being?
Going north, West Las Vegas.
Wow. That would be, I guess, a minor upset, right? I mean, knock off the defending champs. What do you got in the championship there, Nick?
I agree. West Las Vegas Navajo Prep is the way I think it shakes out. I really like this West Las Vegas team based on what I saw in Hope Christian Invitational. I think Alexis Pacheco, super special player. I'm going with West.
Ed.
Navajo Prep West, and I think Rainey Crisp. I love Victor Ulavati. I think he's a heck of a coach, but coaching matters. Experience matters. I'll take Navajo Prep.
I'm going to go with Tehachapi in the championship over West Las Vegas. Tehachapi's, I know they've played a lot of these teams already in the tournament, including Navajo Prep. Those have not been blowouts. They've been pretty tight ball games, right? Yeah. Tehachapi seems to always muster up something special in the pit there. So, I'm going to go with a little feel-good upset there. I'm going to go with Tehachapi. All right, 4A, girls. The number 1 seed, Kirtland Central. The number 2 seed, Gallup. Are they on a collision course? What's your final 4?
Kirtland, Academy, Pius, Gallup.
Okay, all right. I like that. And then in your championship?
Kirtland, Gallup, and Kirtland winning it all.
Okay. Nick?
I got Kirtland Central and Valencia on the top side of the bracket. On the bottom side, I'm going to go with St. Pius and Gallup.
Ed.
I'll say the same thing that Nick did. Kirtland Central and Valencia on the semifinal, and on the other side, I'll take Pius and Gallup.
And who do you have in your championship winning there?
You know, once a start and always a start, and I say St. Pius upsets Gallup in the semifinal. They got Kirtland Central in the state championship last year. Played them earlier this season up at Kirtland. It was a lopsided game, but I think the Sartans get it done, win their first state championship since 2009.
How about that? Man, you guys are motivating me for the 4A boys, just saying. Anyway, just preview, foreshadowing. Ed, who's your championship winner?
You know, Bree Rohde is a very good friend and a good coach. And, you know, my son mentioned that they gave Kirtland Central, Devin Mann, let's give him credit too. Coach McBroom at Gallup, you know, turning the tide after Kirtland Central beat them decisively twice. So Gallup turns it around last night, 73-69. I've got Gallup as my champ in 4A girls.
Gallup over Kirtland Central?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you know, Kirtland Central, that Metro tournament, they just ran into a buzzsaw, but we saw just how good they were. And they played a lot of that Metro tournament without their best player, right? Yeah. So that's, I mean, to still navigate their way to the championship. You look at the top there, like, okay, does Albuquerque Academy, Valencia, do they pose potential upset capabilities over Kirtland Central? I don't think Valencia can score enough to stay with Kirtland Central. And then I don't think Academy can guard enough to stay with Kirtland Central. So I think that Kirtland Central has to go all the way through there. And then on the bottom, I mean, you know, it's a Gallup team that maybe has been better the last couple of years, but they still have a whole bunch of pieces. Pius, they're quick. Those guards are quick off the dribble. They share the ball well, but I just don't. And then Portales, I'm not gonna lie, I just haven't seen them enough, right? All those games against Texas teams, especially some lower class ones. I know Coach Fraser does a great job. I got to go with a 1-2 there. I'm gonna go Kirtland Central over Gallup in the championship. All right, let's go 5A girls. The 1-2, right? That's the collision course. But there's some good teams in here. There's some interesting matchups in here. Sure. Who wants to start us off?
Yeah, I'll take Hobbs and Coach Adair does a heck of a job out there at Farmington, man. I really do. Hobbs Farmington in the semifinals on the top there. And George Myatt's hearted man. I don't know if we gave him enough love. How long has George Myatt been out there? He's been a great coach there at Mayfield. On the bottom, Sandia versus Mayfield in the semis, and to the champion, I'll take Hobbs.
Over Sandia?
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask about this La Cueva Las Cruces matchup. Anyone else think Las Cruces going to pull that upset?
I can see it happening. I mean, it's just a seeding, it's a number. You don't know what's going to happen, but Las Cruces is a very tough team.
I think it's an interesting game. I got La Cueva in that one. I think La Cueva plays pretty good at home. Too much Jordan Dyer. I think they get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really want to go with Cruces here. But I'm kind of with you. I think Jordan Dyer finds a way against that defense. Yeah. You know, they get a couple of Romero threes, some physical defense from La Cueva. I think they survive the scare, but I think that could be the best first-round matchup for sure. Does anyone have Albuquerque High going to their Final Four on the top?
Yeah, they'd have to beat Farmington. I think they could, honestly. You know, Farmington and team coach Adair changes defenses a lot. He'll press, he'll play zone. Abby Pavia is just a game changer, man. I think they have enough supporting cast around her. If they shoot the ball well in the pit, I think they could get to the Final Four.
I think that's a game when we talk about coaching, that one there, the potential, because they still got to get past the first round between Coach Adair and Coach Morrison. That'd be a great coaching matchup. The chess pieces moving in every huddle. That would be really a fun game to watch if they get past the first round.
I think I'm going to take Albuquerque. I think I could take Albuquerque High to my Final Four just because this might be a game where they finally use their bigs a little more. Yeah. They have them.
Yeah.
And size doesn't slump at the pit, right? Like, I really think Albuquerque High's bigs could be the difference in a matchup against Farmington. Farmington does not shoot it as well as years past. Yeah. They're still there. They're still a good team, but they're not quite as good as Farmington of years past. All right, what's your Final Four and then championship, Nick?
I got Hobbs, Albuquerque High on the top side of the bracket. On the bottom side, I'm going to go Sandia. I'm going to say Sandia and La Cueva in the Final Four. I got Sandia and Hobbs in the championship, and I think I'm going to have to go with Sandia to repeat.
All right, and Mike, what about you?
I got Hobbs, Albuquerque High on the top. On the bottom, Mayfield, Sandia. Championship, I got Sandia Hobbs, and I'm with Nick. I got Sandia winning it all and repeating.
Okay. What about that Volcano Vista Clovis matchup? I mean, Volcano Vista, they barely have anything left, right? All the injuries and everything. But is Coach Villarreal going to make another pit appearance?
You know what they do have? You're right. They've lost, Mia Espinosa. That's one of their better players. What they do have is her. They won a game 16-15 earlier this year.
I didn't see.
Yeah, 16-15. And I even texted her. I was like, wow, 16-15 reminded me of Dean Smith, Four Corners, years ago. So she's an amazing coach. She really is. She's won with a lot of talent. She's won with not so much. She's keeping them in it even without one of their best players. So you know what? Don't count her out. That program has culture. They've won. They know what it takes to get there. So much respect to her. I've always said that.
Let's go over to 1A boys, Jason, if we can. The top seed there, it's Logan. The 2 seed's Melrose. The 3 seed is Fort Sumner House. The 4 is Magdalena. Those are your 1A Blue Bloods right there. Can anyone give them a scare? Michael?
I mean, Cibola can give Fort Sumner House a scare, but I just see 1 through 4 going to semis.
Okay. And then who do you have in your championship?
Logan, Fort Sumner House.
Okay. And with the winner?
Being Logan, just with how tough they are.
All right. Nick?
I'm chalk on this bracket, Sebastian. I got Logan, and I'm going to say Melrose beats Fort Sumner House. We'll have a new 1A champion this year. I'm going to, go out on a limb, say Melrose got him once. Melrose gets him again in the state championship. Beats Logan.
Ed?
That's going to be you mentioned Drew Hadley. He's done a great job out there at Melrose. I believe he coaches football too, right? I think you went down there for the
state champ.
for the 8-man championship down there, and Drew also used to be an official, basketball official. So I've known Coach Hadley for a while and really like him a lot. He's a good guy. So I'll Logan though, 6'5". I talked to Tucumcari head coach John Spann earlier this season. He was a guest on the sports desk, and Coach Spann was telling me 6'5", 6'7". Logan is going to be very, very tough to beat. But Coach Hadley, man, he might have a plan there. I'm going to go with number 1 versus 2. I'll take Logan.
Yeah, Jason and I went to Logan for that football game. Those kids are all playing basketball as well. Seeing some of their box scores, I mean, come on. So, yeah, 1A, it's always chalky. It's weird to see a 4 next to Magdalena's name.
Yeah, it is.
That's for sure. But, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Logan and Melrose in the championship. And I'll go with the Longhorns in that one. Let's go to 2A, boys. Texaco's the big number 1 seed there. The 2 Santa Rosa. And then you see the 3 Mesa Vista against Manal. And then the 4 is Pecos, your Panthers. We'll start with you then.
I mean, 1 through 4 going to the semis. And even though Texaco is a very tough, physical, tall team, I see my Panthers in the championship.
I love it.
And they're going to play I see them playing district rival Santa Rosa for the championship.
With the winners being?
My hometown Panthers.
Oh, clean sweep on the boys and girls side for the Pecos Panthers. You want to throw in the track and field championship while we're at it? I mean, that's a week away, isn't it? Love it. Nick?
Yeah, we'll have a new champion in Class 2A this year. I'm going to go with Mesa Vista Santa Rosa on the bottom half, Texaco, Pecos on the top. I really like this Mesa Vista team, Sebastian. They got the District Player of the Year, Jordan Gallegos. I'm pretty sure he's the 2-time District Player of the Year. I really like him, a big that can play out on the perimeter as well. He can stretch a lot. I got them going to the state championship, knocking off Santa Rosa in a close one, and it'll be Texaco and Mesa Vista. I think it's too much. Texaco's too much for Mesa Vista. I got Texaco winning it all.
All right, Ed?
You know what? A note from Grady Barons. You know him. I'm rolling with the Pecos boys this year, 32-5 in state tournament games. Coach Arthur has been in the championship game 3 of his first 5 seasons with 1 championship pedigree, and not being overwhelmed by the moment matters. And Grady, great guy, man. Just a very good friend. So you know what? That said, I think I'm going to go with Texaco in the championship game versus. Let me see. I'm going to go 1-2. They both had great seasons. I'll go 1-2, and I'm going to stick with Texaco as the champion in 2A.
I think Camden Davis, the sophomore at Mesilla Valley, is going to be the one that rips your heart out, Mike, this year with his 20 points, 12 rebounds a game. So I see the 1 and the 5 at the top of the bracket going to the Final Four, and then I see Mesa Vista at the bottom there with Santa Rosa. Be nice to see. If Legacy Academy didn't run into Mesa Vista there, I could pick them winning a game or two just because of Coach Joyce and some of their post play, but they don't have the guard play there, not yet.
You know, you mentioned Coach Joyce and, the former head man at La Cueva, the former La Cueva star back in there. I remember watching Coach Joyce play at La Cueva against Albuquerque High, won a championship in '89, lost in '90 to a loaded Bulldog squad. I remember he was a guest on, I've known Brian for a long time, and talking basketball with that guy, he coached at the college level.
You can talk for hours.
Oh, man. And, my son loves to talk hoop. My son was an excellent coach at St. Pius. So Coach Joyce can really, he's a great coach. I think Legacy Academy is very lucky to have him. It's coaching matters. We've said that. So you never know what the difference a good coach like that can make.
So I'll take Texaco as the champion there, though, but I do like Mesilla Valley. Coach Coyle does a great job there in Sun Blazers. They've been there before, that's for sure. Let's move ahead now to always interesting 3A boys bracket. I want to go through some of these matchups actually individually. The first one I want to square in on a little bit is that Bosque-Nimi matchup. Bosque's got some nice pieces. Coach Davidson, I think, does a real nice job there. Josiah Wilson, right? That's his. We remember his older brother.
Yeah.
But Josiah's had a real nice year there at Bosque. What's anyone want to zone in on another matchup there? That's one that kind of caught my eye.
I'll take Sandia Prep, West Las Vegas. These teams met earlier in the season, in the regular season. Sandia Prep knocked them off. They played a back-to-back after losing to St. Pius. They had to play West Las Vegas the day after. Hard to beat a team twice. Sandia Prep's going to have to travel, but I think that could be an interesting one.
Put you on the spot, Nick. Do I want to make the drive to watch Devon Kenzie in person? Because the stats just jump off the page. You've seen him in person. Is that on something I need to put on my bucket list?
It's something you're going to have to put on your bucket list. Kenzie's just an explosive athlete. He's all over, and he has that dog in him.
He averages 24 and 12, by the way, folks, on 58% shooting from the field. That's why I bring it up.
Elite rebounder. I had him last year at the Rio Rancho Event Center when they fell to Robertson, I believe, and just excellent on the boards, active player. Yeah, he's worth the price of admission for sure.
Ed, some thought. Do you have a matchup there you want to kind of zone in on, or should we take it right to the quarters or semis?
You know what? I think Navajo Prep, we mentioned that. Navajo Prep, they've lost a lot from last year against Hot Springs. That's a matchup that it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be Coach Bean's going to have to travel to Navajo Prep.
Yep. I can see Xavier Nez giving Hot Springs some problems.
You know what? Xavier Nez is an excellent player.
Yeah, he is.
He can do so many things and draws fouls. He'll spread the floor. So yeah, they will. But knowing Coach Bean and I talk, not as probably as much as you and him do, Sebastian, but really like the guy, man. I really do, and I think he'll have his Tigers ready. So that's kind of a matchup that I'm looking forward to. But if you look at the bracket, you got St. Mike's. They've had a great season, and Robertson. Mike, you said they've turned the corner. And, again, I don't think you can shortchange a coaching change in the middle of the season. You can't, because there's a different voice. And, Coach Branch is dismissed. We understand that. But Coach Bustos found his, because everybody's looking at Coach Branch and who's going to lead us. And Coach Bustos has found his voice, obviously. So they've had a great turnaround there. And Las Vegas Robertson at 1 and 2. That's where they belong. They've earned that. So I'm looking forward. That's going to be a great bracket there.
How good is that freshman, George Smith? I mean, he's so fun to watch. Varsity player is an 8th grader.
Really good.
No, I mean, he's just a freshman, averaging 16 on 50% shooting. They got Gonzalez. They have all the pieces, that's for sure. Can the Collado brothers there at Santa Fe Indian, can they get hot together and make some noise, Mike?
I mean, when they're going. They're tough to stop. But I just don't see anybody stopping Robertson.
All right, so let's go to the semis. Nick?
Semis, I'm going to take St. Mike's, and I'll say Bosque gets into the semis. They knock off Tularosa in the quarters. And then on the bottom half, I'm going to take that's a really good Tehachapi team. They got 2 guys that average double figures. So I'm going to take Tehachapi on the top end, Robertson on the bottom. Those are my semis.
St. Mike's Tularosa on the topside there, and I'll take Tehachapi versus Robertson, and then the St. Mike's and Robertson for the championship. Boy, I'll tell you what, that's a tough one. I'll take St. Mike's.
Right?
I got St. Mike's Tularosa on the top. On the bottom, I got Santa Fe Indian Robertson. Championship, St. Mike's Robertson. And I'm going to have to go with my boys, the Gonzalez boys, and Robertson winning it all.
Yeah, I'll take St. Mike's and Bosque at the top in the semifinals. I'll take Santa Fe Indian and Robertson at the bottom, and I will take Robertson over St. Mike's in the championship for me. Yeah. There's a lot of good athletes in this bracket. There's a lot of good teams, a lot of guys that you want to go out and see, that's for sure. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Cobre. They got a really good team, too. Let's go 4A boys. The number 1 seed there is Pius. The 2s are Artesia. The 4 is Academy. I want to go through the matchups. Can one of you guys please talk me down from the ledge? Tell me that Del Norte has a chance against Highland in the first round. Ed?
You know, they played earlier this year. I think Highland beat them. I know they beat them at Highland in the APS tournament. And yes, they certainly do have a chance. They do. I don't think again, coaching matters. But look, Coach Woody has won 2 titles. Jerron McIntosh has won 1. But love them both. They're great guys, great coaches. I'm going to, of course, take Hornets in that one. But yeah, I think Del Norte definitely has a chance for sure. 8-9, very closely matched. I think they might have played another time, and Del Norte might have won.
They played twice.
They split, right?
Yeah.
They split.
Highland won both times.
Okay, so Highland won both times, but it was close at Highland, if I remember. It was pretty close. I thought Del Norte was ahead, and then Highland came back, and I think Owen Chang and William Hood went crazy hitting some threes. So, yeah, I still think Del Norte has a chance, but Highland, outside of losing the district championship to Pius on Friday, trending upward. So, yeah, but I got to say this about Coach Myers, and who's, again, a great friend of my son and me. I love Coach Myers. I think he does a great job. Familiarity breeds contempt. So, do you want to see Highland and Pius again? And it's a great rivalry. It is.
We'll get to that. Hold your horses there. We'll get to it.
But no, just something, that's just something I think that caught my eye right away.
For sure.
Yeah.
Who do you like, Highland or Del Norte?
That's such a tough matchup, Sebastian. They're so similar, right? They both like to run. They play up and down. They've got elite scores. It's a bummer that's the first round matchup, man. But if you got to pick one, I can't bet against Highland and Justin Woody, so I'm going to take Highland.
Highland or Del Norte?
I'm going Del Norte, 9 seed.
I like your style, Mike.
It's March. You gotta believe in.
Here's the
upsets.
problem, guys. I had Highland going all the way to the championship.
You don't like this matchup.
Yeah, so this is my concern.
Yeah.
I had Highland all the way to the championship.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, the 5-12's Pewaukee Valley against Taos. Does anyone want to make the case for Taos there, or does everyone have Pewaukee?
I would take Taos.
I'm gonna make the case for Taos.
Taos.
You know what? I think Taos with Ely inside, man, they have a chance. But I really like Ryan Cordova. He's done a great job at Pewaukee Valley.
I'm going to take Taos as well. You got Pewaukee Valley. Okay. Albuquerque Academy Grants. I'll take Academy.
Academy,
too much.
Okay. Espanola Valley against Belen. Those guards, man. Fresquez is good. Duda's good. Yeah. I think too much Espanola Valley there. I'll take Espanola Valley.
Espanola Valley.
Belen gave Pius a run. They beat Highland earlier this year. It's a team that they're kind of similar to Espanola in a lot of ways. They want to speed the game up. They'll make games ugly, man. If they make this an ugly game, I'm not picking an upset here. I just think I could see this being close for a half.
Right. Espanola or Belen?
Coach Monica does a good job at Belen, but Joey Trujillo, who's been around the north, been at Mesa Vista, has done really well at Espanola Valley. I'll take Espanola Valley in that matchup.
What an odd Hope team this year. This has not been a very Jim Murphy-like team, They show signs of sloppiness, of, just stuff you don't expect from Hope. But I think there's still talent there, especially with Hiron if he gets hot.
Yeah.
So in a matchup against Silver, I'm inclined to take the Huskies there.
Yeah, Silver City probably the weakest strength of schedule in the Class 4A. They are the district champs down in District 3, but they don't have a head-to-head against a 4A team other than the teams that they played in their district. Hope, they really miss Nathan Saavedra from last year. They don't have a true inside presence. But I like Koningsberg. I like Feist. They got some shooters. If they get hot, they're dangerous. And, yeah, if there's an upset in the Class 4A bracket, it's the 6-11 Hope advancing.
So I got Hope. You got Hope?
Hope Christian, you can't count out Murphy.
I know you're not going to break the trend, Ed. You're not going
No, I
against
think
Murph.
it's a good matchup. I think what Nick said, Silver, they don't have their strength of schedule, and Hope always plays to start the season 5-18.
And Silver's strength of schedule is always bad because it's just geographically where they're at. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
Coach-
years,
yeah, it's not their
even
fault,
years
right?
after year under Coach Sequeiros, it's been the same story.
They did give Pius a run 2 years ago in the first round when they were a 14 seed. And let's just give Silver a little bit of love, a little bit. I mean, man, they should have beat Pius 2 years ago or were in position to. Brandon Kimberly is back from that team, Chad Aguirre. So let's not completely count them out. They are talented. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, they are, and they are talented. But I think Hope Christian and Sebastian, you brought up a good point. Has been kind of a strange season. 3 wins there, 2 losses here, 2 wins, 2 losses. Inconsistent for a Jim Murphy team, but still they're here. And I think how many games does Coach Murphy want? I always tell Coach Murphy this. I tease him. I said, "You won 16 championships. Will 17 or 18 make that much difference?" And he laughs and we laugh. He still wants to win. He's a competitor. So we said coaching matters. I think Jim Murphy in this bracket, you still have to look and say, hey, it's Jim Murphy.
You know, Lovington was going to be a team I picked for an upset win or two, but not against Valley. I just can't do it. Again, this is just the way the bracket falls, right? I think Lovington's a really good team, but I just can't see him getting past Valley. Lovington Valley, who do you got?
I mean, you can't go against Valley. They're just a solid team.
Cale Covington, 20 points, 13 rebounds per game. A lot of guys from their football team. This was a matchup in the quarterfinals last year, right, Sebastian? It was 77-33 Valley. You know, Lovington's going to have to travel.
Not
up
the
north.
same Valley team, though, I don't think. There's no blowout coming here. I think this is going to be a tight opening round matchup.
No, for sure. And Lovington's got size, too, which is something Valley kind of doesn't have.
Right.
So it's a tough matchup for Valley. Can't bet against them, though, because they're trending upward. I got Valley.
Ed?
They're playing at home, and they beat Academy last night. And, a game that probably a lot of people didn't think they would win. And an ugly game, 40-38. They had to grind it out. And so I think Coach Ponis has done a good job. I don't know that we gave enough credit to Alvin Broussard in his first season there, after not coaching for a few years.
He's done a phenomenal job.
He's done I think the world.
He's reinvented that team.
Yes, he has.
That was a guard-oriented team. They
Yeah.
played really fast. Now they see what they have with all their length, and he's totally reinvented that team, and they're really good.
No, they are. So I think I'm going to take Valley in that matchup.
All right, semifinals. Move us ahead to your semi-ed.
In the semis, I'm going to take Highland versus Academy, and then I'll take Espanola Valley versus Artesia. Championship, Highland versus Espanola Valley. Highland comes out on top.
Nick?
Who do you have Highland beating in the quarterfinal? Just say it out loud. I'm going to let you get away with that. I mean, own it.
On the
man.
record.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, you know what?
Say it.
Look, Highland versus St. Pius, Highland wins. Yeah.
There you go.
There it is.
We just wanted to get it on
Yeah.
the
There you
record.
go. I just needed you to say
Okay.
it. Fair enough. It'd be the 4th time those teams have played, by the way, which it's always so tough to play a team that many times and then, beat them. I got in the Final Four, St. Pius and Academy on the top side. I've got Artesia on the bottom half, and I'm going to pick Hope Christian, man. I think an 11 gets all the way back to the semifinals. Look what Jim Murphy has done since he's gone up to 4A. Made it to the state championship 2 years ago, gets to the Final Four last year. So I've got Artesia and Hope Christian. I think Artesia wins it this year. That's who knocked out Artesia last year. I think, Artesia, even with those 2 late losses to Portales and Goddard, Coach Mike Mondragon does a phenomenal job. He was part of those state championship teams under Bubba Jennings when Artesia won it back in the 90s. I think this is their year to get to the state championship. You guys know I'm going to pick St. Pius getting into the state championship. They're going to take on Artesia, and I got St. Pius getting their first state championship since 2013 and securing their 8th in program history.
Mike?
How many, Nick?
8th.
Okay. All right. You're pretty emphatic about that. I just want to make sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike?
On the top, I got Pius Academy with Academy beating Pius.
Okay.
On the bottom, Artesia Espanola Valley, and I see the Sun Devils back in the championship winning it all.
How about that? Well, at the top, unfortunately, Judah Casals and Shane Dumas-Enges are not coming through those doors. So I'm going to take Highland in the Final Four against Academy. At the bottom, I will take Valley in the Final Four against Espanola Valley. So that would give me a championship of Academy against Valley with the Chargers lifting the blue trophy.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
All right, let's go to 5A. We have reached it. All right, I think we can all skip past the first one. We're going to take Volcano Vista there. So let's do the 8-9 between La Cueva and Cibola. I'll start with you, Ed.
You know, you mentioned Crislow, Barons, Elijah Martinez, Christopher Williams. Gosh, he's got some pieces. It's too bad that T. Brown or Heinrich or those dudes are seniors. Too bad, you know, because they're too bad they're not coming around for another year. Man, that's almost like a coin toss there. I'm gonna take Cibola. Yeah, that's just kind of a feel. Although Eric Orwell and La Cueva have played very well, I'll take Cibola in that matchup.
Nick, who you liking that one?
You know, that's a rematch. These teams played earlier in the APS Metro tournament. It was a close game, 58-55 over Cibola. I like La Cueva, Sebastian. That's no disrespect to Cibola. I think Elijah Martinez is an electric, phenomenal player. If he gets hot, I think they can win that game. But I think La Cueva, too much length, too much size. They control the glass. I got the Bears.
Who you liking that one, Mike?
I love Cibola with Martinez and Williams, but like
You're not just saying that because they're Espanola boys, are you?
no, those
Okay,
are true.
All right,
Those are true guys.
just checking.
But like Nick just said, La Cueva has size and they just take over the glass. I just don't see La Cueva losing.
Organ Mountain and Farmington is an interesting one we talked about, but it's time to pick. Ed, I think I know where you're going with this one. Organ Mountain, Farmington.
Organ Mountain, Farmington. We mentioned Larry Don Chitty does a great job there, but I've got Organ Mountain in that one.
Okay, Nick.
Oregon Mountain on a 17-game winning streak coming into the state tournament. You know, I like Farmington. Their strength of schedule before they get into district is not that great. They got the weakest strength of schedule.
Did they shut out Las Cruces in the second quarter last night, right? In the district tournament. Did I read that correctly somewhere?
Probably.
They kept Las Cruces scoreless in a quarter?
Yeah, and I mean, Las Cruces has some guys too. So I like Oregon Mountain in that game, Sebastian.
Mike?
I love Oregon Mountain, very solid team, but don't count out Farmington. I'm gonna pick Farmington.
All right, I like that. Roswell and Carlsbad will stay down on this end. It's a Roswell team. I got to see them when they beat Hobbs in Roswell. Granted, that was a night where Roswell shot 42 free throws and Hobbs did not. So that definitely changed the outcome. But this is a Roswell team. They punish you when you lose them defensively. They're either going to backdoor you or they're going to hit an open three. They get up and down. They're disciplined. They're quick. But Carlsbad's a tough team too. I mean, who do you like there?
I like Roswell. I got to see them play in the Cleveland tournament. They got sharpshooters. They're big. They're quick. They just pester you. So I don't see Roswell losing.
Nick, Roswell, Carlsbad, who do you got?
I mean, this is the fourth time these teams have played, right, Sebastian? We talked about that. It's always hard beating teams, especially when it counts the most. I like Roswell, though. I haven't seen them. I've read a little bit about them, and I've watched them on YouTube. Ryan Saraceno, Jacob Palomino, Jeremy Sombrano, those are the guys that make them go. They shoot a lot of threes, and if they're hot, they're hard to beat. I got Roswell.
Ed?
Tough matchup there. You mentioned Dude Barola's done a great job there at Roswell. Lumbrun, in that zone, and I talked to Coach Lori Mabry about it when she used to coach against him when he coached girls. Uses all different kinds of runs it different ways, matchup, man to man. So I still think Roswell is the better team here. So I'll take Roswell.
Okay, so then Roswell in the top against Oregon Mountain, or you have Roswell against Farmington. Who do you like getting through that? In your matchup, it's Roswell and Farmington. Who wins that matchup?
I mean, if the way Roswell plays defense, if they can stop Begay from shooting, Roswell's going to win that one easily.
Okay, and your matchup, you would have Roswell and Oregon Mountain. Nick, so who do you have winning that one? I think that would be a fascinating game.
They had a head-to-head earlier this year. Roswell beat Oregon Mountain by 14 earlier in the season.
Oregon Mountain's been strange. I mean,
Roller coaster.
it's been weird.
Yeah. But they got Pitt experience, and even though they got a brand new head coach this year, and Randy McBroom, I think he's done a phenomenal job. Lenny Washington gets them back into the semifinals. I got Oregon Mountain.
Okay, and that Oregon Mountain Roswell matchup, Ed, who did you take?
Yeah, again, Larry Don Chitty does such a great job. But in Oregon Mountain, they're on a nice winning streak right now. And they, again, my son mentioned it. They do have a different coach, and some of the guys, Karras not there, Wilson not there. I'll still take Oregon Mountain in that matchup.
And then at the top, Volcano Vista. Does anyone want to make the case for La Cueva upsetting Volcano Vista, or are we taking Volcano Vista all the way through?
Man, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I mean, La Cueva has the size, but they don't have everything that Volcano Vista has.
No.
Okay, so Volcano Vista in the semis against Roswell or Oregon Mountain?
I have Roswell.
Okay,
I got Oregon Mountain.
Got Oregon Mountain.
all right. And then in that matchup, that Volcano Vista Oregon Mountain matchup, you have Volcano Vista going through, right?
Yeah, I think, to beat Volcano Vista, you're going to have Lund and Owino, either one or both of them, get in early foul trouble. You're going to have to hope that they don't shoot the ball well. And you're going to have to knock down threes. And I just don't think Oregon Mountain shoots the ball well enough to pull the upset. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think Volcano gets into the championship.
So let's tackle the bottom of the bracket. Sandia, Rio Rancho opening rounds. Anyone want to make a case for Rio Rancho there?
Swoops Montaño, an assistant coach for Rio Rancho, does. He said Rams all the way, so he did. But
He's on the payroll, Ed, so he has to say that.
I know. I would expect him to say that, but no, I've got Sandia there.
All right, Albuquerque High, Santa Fe's an interesting matchup. Santa Fe's really limping into this thing. That was a tough loss in that district tournament. Does anyone? I'm going to go. Does anyone want to make the case for Santa Fe there, or are we Albuquerque High across the board?
High.
Got Albuquerque High there.
Okay, well, the moment has come then to make a decision on that 7-10, Cleveland or Atrisco. Ed?
I got to go, the way Atrisco Heritage is playing right now, and I keep going back to what Coach Heredia said. We're glad to have our guys back. We think we're ready to make a move. They've won 6 in a row. I got to go with Atrisco Heritage in that matchup.
Nick?
Yeah, I agree. If you're going to run with the Atrisco Heritage, which Cleveland likes to do, they like to run, man, that's a track meet that you do not want to get into. I got Atrisco.
Mike?
It's a tough matchup with Atrisco getting all their guys back. It's a dangerous team now, but I got to go with my Storm.
Okay. All right, so then if we move that bracket forward, Sandia, Hobbs. Is someone going to prevent Sandia and Hobbs from happening? Or can we skip ahead to Sandia and Hobbs? Okay, so then, is that all right?
I've seen Cleveland beat Hobbs this year.
Okay.
But
Cleveland has matched up well against Hobbs, which is, interesting.
But they just got to get past Atrisco.
Right. Okay, so then let's talk. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about Sandia Hobbs then. It's an interesting Hobbs team. It's you wouldn't expect a Hobbs team to not be good in transition, but really Hobbs, they score in their sets. That's what they do. They score in their sets. They're really good guard that can beat you off the dribble. A couple of big guys, right? Henderson's a 7-footer. I think I'm even more impressed with Turubiates.
Yeah.
Super athletic, does a lot for Coach Ross. I don't think they're the firepower though to stay with Sandia.
Yeah, I agree. They just haven't played Metro teams consistently enough. They did come up for the APS Metro tournament. I think won 3 games. But yeah, Sandia just too much, man, too much. If Sandia doesn't shoot well in the pit, which could happen, and if Hobbs is able to kind of slow the game down a little bit and handle their pressure, I think they could. But yeah, I'd pick Sandia in that one.
Does anyone of the Atrisco pickers, does anyone want to make the case for them to go all the way to the semifinals?
They have to beat Sandia, and I don't see that. And Atrisco Heritage, we mentioned.
They would have to beat Hobbs.
Yeah, okay, so that's right on that side of the bracket there.
I think they could.
You know what? If they beat Cleveland and beat them convincingly, I don't think it's out of the question that they could beat Hobbs.
Yeah. Hobbs likes to press, Sebastian. I just watched them in their district championship win over Roswell last night. They like to press, so it'd be interesting.
Can you press?
Well, that's what I mean. You're gonna press Latavius Morris on the pit floor on that huge floor.
You're gonna speed that game up so fast where your big Parker Henderson's gonna have to sit on the bench. They're gonna have to go small.
Yeah.
Because if they speed the game up that much, right?
Yeah. I think if Atrisco gets a lead, and this is one thing I said, if they get a lead, they've got the guards and ball handling to hold a lead. So it could happen.
Championship game, Ed Nunez.
I'm going to Volcano Vista, obviously, and I think I'm going to have them face off against Sandia for the 3rd time. And I've got to go with the Hawks. Sandia played them tough, even in the Metro tournament, the game that you and Steve Davis did. A call at the end. Again, I'm not going to blame no rest, man. I'm not. It was a tough call. Didn't go Sandia's way, but man, they were in it. They've got the personnel, to match up, but not inside.
Right.
Owino and Lund. Lund is, I don't know if we give him enough love. Last night, once he gets in the paint, you could forget it. He's too strong. He jumps over
face to
people.
the basket. He's unstoppable.
Right. And then you mentioned about Owino being a willing passer. They go high-low. He'll go over the top to Lund. Lund will go over the top to him. Ryan Gonzalez spreads the floor. So I got Volcano Vista in the champ. They're fourth straight. I've got them over Sandia.
Nick?
Kick it to you very quickly, Sebastian. You saw both those games. Sandia has Volcano up by 16 at Volcano. Close game in the APS Metro tournament. I think Sandia can get it done this year. I'll pick the Matadors.
Matadors over Volcano, huh?
I will.
I love Volcano Vista. Just they have it, they're going to win it all.
For your prediction to come true, I think Sandia has to get 15. to 20 more possessions than Volcano Vista in that game, and I just don't think that's something Volcano gives up a lot, right? I mean, it could happen. They had him right there. It's an 18-point lead that ballooned to 21 before Volcano came back. But I always say, you know, the season always ends the same, and that's with me standing on the floor talking to Kenny and Aguino, right? Yep. But I don't know. I mean, Sandia's right there, but I do think it's going to be the same matchup again. A lot has to go right for Sandia to win that game. For Volcano to win that game, Kenyon has to be there. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you at the games.